municipality and city division levels for the youths, older persons, and people with disabilities. But, however, the Electoral Commission has come out and urged the public to be very vigilant and be aware of staged all manufactured fabrications of videos, photography, and any other content about the ongoing elections that are being created and circulated by some people on social media platforms that could not be true. So make sure you verify your content before sharing anything online and avoid misleading and misinforming the public, cause you may be a victim of the computer misuse offenses. Good morning once again. Indeed, and if the Computer Misuse Act was extremely active in Uganda, I wonder how many people would be in jail right now. But Robert, good morning.
Good morning, Julie. Now, you've reminded me of a Uganda saying, Tiomukiso guyisembwa malagala, segwe guyisamu embuzi.
Right.
Now, Julie said if the Computer Misuse Act was very active, everyone would be in jail. Now, don't assume because you saw a dog pass through a sweet potato garden that a goat may pass and not be tempted to eat the leaves. Or when they see a dog pass through, they will not mind. But he who owns a sweet potato garden, when he sees a goat, he will begin by pelting stones, either getting that goat and locking it up. I hope he who is wise has understood.
What you are wise is enough.
Now, I want to thank Ugandans first and foremost for being calm and keeping peace at this time. But notably, allow me thank Honorable Ssemujju Nganda. I was watching an interview on a certain TV station of Honorable Ssemujju Nganda, and I was shocked. In my opinion, Ssemujju Nganda was the best opposition member of parliament. Despite his verbal utterance sometimes on individuals, he had the humor, he would read, he would do research, he would explain a bill, and you would really understand it. But this is a man who came out and accepted defeat.
Right.
And thanked his people for having elected him in parliament for 15 years. He even said, if my voters felt that they wanted another person, it is okay, I would thank them. And I thank them. People, I was shocked. And it was actually is one, maybe would think he would come out and say, I was rigged, I was this, I was this. Though he also pointed out that losing a certain breed of people in parliament, he mentioned some of his colleagues at such a time is not very good. But said if that has been the people's choice,
it is okay. It has to be respected.
Thank you, Honorable Ssemujju Nganda. Losing honorably, Honorable Ssemujju, no, Honorable
from where?
Sebaru. Mike, has always used the word that people should lose honorably.
Yes.
Now, indeed, Honorable Ssemujju, even at such a time, he remained an honorable.
And you know, Robert, I like the fact that he mentioned for him, he lost authentically. You know? There is nothing like getting other factors. I lost because of this, or there was manipulation, or there was ballot stuffing, like some of his colleagues are doing it. But he came out and frankly stated it. I concede. I lost, it was the will of people. Well, I believe, I think their breed,
in my book of tiki.
Their breed of parliamentarians actually are all in the same docket, because I've listened to Honorable Matthias Mpuga give the same speech. He also lost honorably. Honorable Medad Segona, he also lost honorably, and he said that for people of Busiro East, kindly make sure you help the new member of parliament to serve you. Because if you do not help him, if you do not support him, he'll not be able to serve you. So this stature of men, their league of
now on the contrary, we've had Ssemujju Nganda. I give you your flowers, you've done it, you've not ashamed us as journalists.
Oh, yeah.
That yes, because he's a professional journalist, you've not ashamed us. But on the contrary, comes Frank
Bulira.
Now,
Yes.
wonders never cease. He said he believed he was third in this election. Now, I wonder how Honorable, Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Munopu candidate was the second. Now, in his view,
What happens to Nandala Mafabi?
he thinks he
What
would garner
happens
more
to-
he garnered more than Nandala Mafabi.
But
He
he gained more than Mabiris.
Oh, well, Mabezi and the rest are in their
Yes, he
league.
gained.
And you see, to make matters worse, yesterday I talked of Ugandans who voted in Uganda. I mean, who never voted in Uganda. I said the vote was cast in Uganda, but people who never voted, who in a law cannot stand as witnesses because they will depend on hearsay. They weren't there, so they never witnessed. Outside Uganda demonstrating. Now, Frank killed it when he said they had as Revolutionary People's Party, they had a tallying center in Johannesburg.
Oh my goodness.
And it put him third.
How did they receive the results when they weren't online?
You people, the election is, we vote in Uganda. Vote counting is happening in Uganda. Revolutionary People's Party
Had a tally center in
had its
Johannesburg.
tally center in Johannesburg.
Joburg.
South Africa.
In South
Wow,
Africa.
very
That put
interesting
him as
at
third.
that. And surely Ugandans, as Ugandans, we are really happy people, and we make light of every moment. It's one thing I've come to believe. Perhaps he was being a typical Ugandan. Anyways, Robert, take us through what we have on the local scene this morning.
Well, why are you laughing? Ugandan man. The outgoing Chief Justice Owinidoro, for the years he has served the country, rising through the ranks of judiciary to the position of Chief Justice until his retirement. This was echoed by different speakers during the official handover ceremony held at the judiciary headquarters in Kampala following his retirement upon attaining the constitutional age limit. Article 144 Clause 1 of the Constitution provides that a judicial officer may retire at any time after attaining the age of 60 years and shall vacate office. Clause 1A further provides that in case of the Chief Justice, Deputy Chief Justice, a Justice of the Supreme Court, and a Justice of the Appeal, Court, retirement shall be upon attaining the age of 70 years. In accordance with this constitutional provision, the Chief Justice Owinidoro officially retired from office after clocking 70 years. Outgoing Chief Justice Owinidoro officially handed over office to the Deputy Chief Justice at the Judiciary Headquarters in Kampala. Doro commended the strong working relationship he enjoyed with the entire judiciary. The acting Chief Justice and Deputy Chief Justice Dr. Flavia Nzeija described the retired Chief Justice as a hard-working leader. The principal judge, Lady Justice Jane Francis Abodo, described the retired Chief Justice as a mentor and administrator. The Electoral Commission has dismissed media reports claiming that the Ajuri County parliamentary seat has already been decided. The Commission said no winner has been declared, insisting that the Electoral Commission in Ajuri County is still ongoing following disputes in 18 polling stations in which a repeat has been decided on the 27th of this month. The Electoral Commission has moved to clarify that it will conduct another election in these polling stations. According to the returning officer of Albertong District, Jessica Adong Ochen, tallying of results has not been concluded in Ajuri County due to disagreements arising from 18 polling stations located in Abako and Awei Sub-County, Albertong District. Ms. Odong said, following consultations with the Commission, a decision was taken to conduct a repeat in the affected polling stations on the 27th of this month. She said until this process is completed, no candidate can legally be declared winner of Ajuri County parliamentary race. Ajuri County parliamentary race remains virtually tight between NRM's Dennis Hamsom Obua and UPC's Fred Jalemeso. The returning officer further appealed to the media to exercise professional responsibility, warning that premature or inaccurate reporting could cause unnecessary public anxiety and excitement. The oil race is on. The government of Uganda and the joint venture partners, China National Offshore Oil Corporation, CNOOC, Total Energies and Uganda National Oil Company, UNOC, have reaffirmed their commitment to deliver first commercial oil in 2026. After over a decade of anticipation, the long-awaited may finally be nearing its end. With timelines tightening, the minister and key players in oil and gas sector have hit the ground running. In the first week of 2026, the minister, accompanied by high-level delegation, inspected the progress of marine storage and terminal facility in Tanga, Tanzania, a critical component of the East African crude oil pipeline. With the mission accomplished in Tanzania, the delegation proceeded to Albertine Graben, where processes and infrastructure readiness ahead of July 2026 deadline were closely assessed. ECOP's Pump Station 1, Sinoc's Kingfisher oil field on the shore of Lake Albert, and Total Energy's Tilenga project. During the site visit, officials were briefed on construction milestones, commissioning schedules, and the overall readiness of critical oil infrastructure. This high-level engagement underscores the strong political willingness to deliver Uganda's first commercial oil in the second half of 2026. Finally, on the local scene, 2 senior officials of Kamuli District Local Government have been charged and remanded by the Anti-Corruption Court over abuse of office. The accused are Muchibi Nassa, 49 years, the Chief Administrative Officer of Kamuli District, and Kifuse Alex, 53, the district's Chief Finance Officer. They appeared before Anti-Corruption Magistrate Esther Asimwe and were charged with 4 counts of abuse of office. The charges arise from their arrest earlier this week. Prosecution told court between May and June 2025 the accused, while performing their official duties, unlawfully processed and approved payment of more than 167 million to Toto Uganda Limited for fuel and lubricants for the construction of Namayingo Kisozi Road without following procurement procedures. Court further had that the accused also approved an additional payment of 29 million to the district engineer Mufuba Daniel for alleged works related to traffic signage, composite establishment, equipment mobilization, and allowances, also without following the required procurement process. Both officials pleaded not guilty to the charges. Prosecution informed court that investigations are still ongoing and requested more time. Through their lawyers, the accused applied for bail, presenting several sureties. However, the prosecution objected, arguing that the sureties were not substantial. After hearing both sides, Magistrate Asimwe remanded the accused until January 20th, 2026, when she will deliver her ruling on the bail application. 2026, people are already in court over corruption. We hope to see this as the year goes through. And also, finally, people being convicted, sentenced, and serving.
I mean, the 3 NRM MPs who were arrested over that corruption scandal.
They were exonerated.
Yes. Yes.
They are exonerated. They have no case. They are free people. But we just hope that, you know, I'm no longer getting excited over arrests and being paraded in court. I'll be excited when it's at the end of the tunnel that so-and-so has been sentenced. Last year we had cases that excited Ugandans.
If proven guilty.
We had the Mabati case. Whatever.
We saw what happened.
Then we had those members of parliament when they were arrested, paraded, going, taken to their homes, boxes, picked. You know, the media were like, yeah. At the end of the day, all cases
Right, John, quickly, let's have a look at what we have on the foreign scene.
And of course, from the world news, we are beginning off with the wealth for the Venezuelan people as the Venezuelans acting president Delcy Rodriguez stated that the government launched a plan to increase gold, iron and bauxite production to boost foreign currency income while speaking at a meeting of the mining and basic industries engine in Caracas on Monday. We worked on these plans. We worked on them with President Maduro last year. A gold plan to increase gold production, to increase the production of iron, of bauxite, of strategic minerals for the industrial development of Venezuela, and also for the generation of foreign currency for our country, she declared. Rodriguez reported 2025 gold production at Calixto figures, saying, "We produced 9.5 tons of gold. The private sector had growth of 81%, the private sector 34.8%, and the public sector 81%. The acting president stressed she expects a 30% increase in gold production in 2026, alongside parliamentary approval of an organic law on mines and minerals, which will allow us to attract an important flow of international investment, and for that international investment to be accompanied by joint work with Venezuelan companies." Moving on, the Syrian government forces are deployed at the Tishurin Dam in Aleppo province on Monday, following the withdrawal of the Syrian Democratic Forces and an agreement reached between the two sides the previous day. Footage shows military vehicles carrying armed personnel moving across the dam, while drone footage captures the dam's facilities and surrounding area. A service member confirmed that the dam had been secured following the SDF's withdrawal. This morning, the forces of the Ministry of Defense took full control of the dam after the SDF militias withdrew from it, said Yahya Suleiman. The advance is continuing towards Sirin and Ain al-Arab. Syrian media reported that government forces had begun deploying in the Tishurin Dam area after it had been fully secured. The developments come after Syria's transitional president, Ahmed al-Shara, announced on Sunday evening a ceasefire agreement with the SDF following a meeting with U.S. envoy Tom Barak, describing the deal as an opportunity to achieve security and stability. And on a sad note, back to the continent of Africa, armed gangs have kidnapped dozens of people attending two churches in Nigeria's Kaduna State, and this is according to local police. A senior church leader said more than 160 worshippers were abducted by gunmen during Sunday service. It is the latest mass kidnapping in Nigeria, where both Christians and Muslims have been targeted. Gangs known locally as bandits frequently carry out such attacks in northern and central parts of the country to get ransom payments. Describing Sunday's attack, local police said gunmen armed with sophisticated weapons burst into the two churches in Komini Wali, a forest community in Afogo Ward, at about 11:25 local time. The attackers came in numbers and blocked the entrance of the churches and forced the worshippers out into the bush. Reverend Joseph Hayab, head of the Christian Association of Nigeria for the country's north, told the AFP news agency yesterday. "We are speaking to Reuters," Hayab added. "Information came to me from the elders of the churches. The 172 worshippers were abducted, while 9 escaped." In November, more than 300 students and teachers were seized from a Catholic school. They were later released in 2 successive groups. It was among a spate of kidnappings that made international headlines. And of course, that is it from our global coverage.
Right. Thank you very much, Joanna. Let's start off with what we have in the New Vision quickly to look at the headline there. Workers, MPs, and their names have been listed on there. NRM sweeps elections, 26 candidates battle for 5 slots. Kasibante petitions court to nullify President Museveni's election. And Sham Tana, who is the young Tororo municipality MP-elect, this is Sanjay Tana's son, who is now MP-elect of Tororo. Bank of Uganda Gold Purchase Program to lift artisan miners' incomes. Now, moving on to the Daily Monitor. The Daily Monitor there has where poll was won, lost. Can get yourself a copy to see the detail of that. Museveni's re-election challenged in the Supreme Court, and that is by Kasibante. Opportunities for tenders in there as well. Looking at the Citizen, that is in Tanzania, revealed new strategy to boost farmer production, and Butiku's take on key issues, launch of oil exports among Museveni's 7th term priorities. That is in the Citizen, and why stadium planning overlooks disabled persons. But when we fly to Kenya, in the 254, executive impunity, that's the headline. President has alleged judicial overreach and frowned upon orders he perceives to be derailing his policies. Also, SHM medical cover bias hits patients, and more stories, of course, are in the Daily Nation. That is from Kenya. That brings us to the end of what we have in the dailies and all the stories that are rounding up from the local scene, foreign scene, and the dailies, that meaning we should take a short break as we enjoy Uganda coffee, and as you are encouraged to enjoy Uganda coffee as well. The show is proudly brought to you by the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this
Good morning, Uganda. Welcome to the show. It's that time, indeed, we get to catch up and start the day with current affairs and Ugandan coffee, but in a lighter way, and a way that encourages you to indeed be part of the show as we all share our 2 cents in different and on different conversations. You are watching UBC TV, coming to you live from the Nile Avenue. My name is Julie F. Nantaba. Now, it's the aftermath of the 15th of January, and the environment is still quite tense as those who are getting ready to set their petitions are getting set ready to go and table their petitions as to having won rather than those who are announced, but also the stories on ground, the different stories of those who have lost their lives are also increasing. I believe you could relate with the fact that someone has lost their life, or you're discovering that someone lost their life during this last week, and you probably know them, you've been residing with them on the same village, and there's a lot of shockwaves moving on. But it's Good Morning Uganda, and we are ready for yet another day of the week. I am with Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono and Joan Murunji. Good morning, Joan.
Good morning, Julie, and good morning, Uganda. I hope you all had a great night. Today we've kicked off with some inspirational music for you, and I would like to remind you that this is the only Tuesday of this week, so make it count, because you will not have any other 20th January 2026. And of course, elections are still going on. Today we are having elections for the special interest groups, councillors, that is at the municipality and city division levels, for the youths, older persons, and people with disabilities. But however, the Electoral Commission has come out and urged the public to be very vigilant and be aware of staged all manufactured fabrications of videos, photography, and any other content about the ongoing elections that are being created and circulated by some people on social media platforms that could not be true. So make sure you verify your content before sharing anything online and avoid misleading and misinforming the public, cause you might be a victim of the computer misuse offenses. Good morning once again.
Indeed, and if the Computer Misuse Act was extremely active in Uganda, I wonder how many people would be in jail right now. But Robert, good morning.
Good morning, Julie. Now, you've reminded me of a Uganda saying, Tiomukisa oguyisa embwa mu malagala, si gwe guyisaamu embuzi.
Right.
Now, Julie said if the Computer Misuse Act was very active, everyone would be in jail. Now, don't assume because you saw a dog pass through a sweet potato garden that a goat may pass and not be tempted to eat the leaves. Or when they see a dog pass through, they will not mind. But he who owns a sweet potato garden, when he sees a goat, he will begin by pelting stones.
IMGN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Genshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Plant extract, scientific ratio. Take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning, eat twice a day. Don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Genshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you stay in shape. Please follow medical advice when taking this product. For more information, visit our website www.hgo.com or call 0800 335555.
Juko. Yo. What you check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
The Senior Citizens Grant under the Social Assistance Grants for Empowerment SAGE program is Uganda's social protection flagship program, providing regular, predictable, and reliable direct income support to older persons. Since inception in 2010, the SAGE program has positively impacted beneficiaries' livelihoods, contributing to the overall national socio-economic transformation. The government of Uganda has continued to fulfill its commitment to the expansion and sustainability of the SAGE program, ensuring income security, dignity, and improved basic standard of living for older persons in all local governments across the country.
I am Kolodong Martin. I am 70 years old. I come from Naitakwai Parish, Nadunget sub-county. This village is called Katanga. I knew about this siege money in, I don't remember very well the year, I think around 2013, 14 is when I heard about this siege program. We were gathered at Katanga village as the elders. They say they need elders from 60 years. So we were gathered, then I was part of the team who was identifying, because by then there were no IDs by then. So we were gathered together with the old women, said verification of years. When were you born? Then some of us were just, putting these events. I was born during the time of this, during the time of this, during the time of this, because for us, Karamojong, we identify the years through events. So that's how we need, then we said, okay, so and so is fit to be in this siege program, 60, because they said 60 above. So that's how I got it. The benefits actually, when it first came, because we were receiving, they told us we were receiving the first bunch of money, we received 25. These 25, we really were grateful, because for us to get the money, this 25 by then was very, it was good money. So I could buy, a kilo of sugar. I could get at least even call my friends to share. I think today we have got something, call some kwete. So, and then we can also get some meat by that time. So that's how I got this money. Then I was also selling a bit of petrol, no? I would get had it to get 1 jerrycan of petrol to sell in my shop. So that's how I could get this 25. Then eventually it went. Then we are supposed to get now by 2 months, that is 50,000. And then I said, I think it was a good move. So, and it was frequent, after every 2 months, we'd get 50, every 2 months, then I would plan. Even with this money now, I would buy some books for my grandchildren, you see. That's how I began benefiting this money. And when it is time for cultivation also, I would take 2 people to the garden, because I'm unable to go to the garden to help my wife. My wife was not the beneficiary. So whenever I could get this money, I would also send people there to the garden to go and dig, if it is time for digging, or weeding, if it was time for weeding. I would also, if it is time for beginning to cultivate, I would buy seeds, yes, to go and plant. So that's how I benefited. First of all, the first challenge, in Karamoja here, the timing when this money is coming, it went on for 1 year when it was coming regularly. After 2 months, but when it went almost towards some end, then it delayed. We greatly thank the government, because for sure, as a person, I say this money, I have not gone to somebody's garden to work for it. This is really a kind of manner for us, the elders, to give ourselves, however small it is. We thank the government for that initiative.
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. Thank you so much for choosing UBC TV. If you're just joining in, you're welcome. This is Good Morning Uganda. My name is Julie F. Nantaba, and at this point in time, I mean, it's still the aftermath of the elections, that is the presidential and members of parliamentary elections. And we want to see how they are affecting different sets of people. This morning, we want to look at how this is impacting the business community. That's looking at the impact of elections on the business community. We're having a conversation with Thaddeus Musoke, who is the chairman of the National Entrepreneurs and Traders Association Uganda, that is NETA, for him to paint a picture of what this season looks like for their community and their sector. Now, be part of the conversation. 0709-602-709-602-592. It's a WhatsApp number, and in case you are properly using VPN, as Honorable Nyombi Tembo stated, please get in touch and let's have a conversation. But you can also send a text message via the same number, 0709-602-592. The three of us, Robert Chirabonyonyitono and Joan Murunji, are indeed part of this conversation alongside Thaddeus Musoke. Good morning, Thaddeus Musoke.
Good morning, Julie and the team. I'm so honored for this great opportunity.
Indeed. Pleasure having you this morning, and thank you for your time this early morning. Let's start from your experience. How do elections, on a general whole, how do elections usually affect the business environment in Uganda?
Generally, the business environment is negatively affected by elections because of the tension within the business community. You know, first of all, we had different segments, and some people were saying that at least after voting, you have to protect the vote, you have to demand for the vote. You know, such words were a little bit confusing the business community. So what the business community was expecting, because the government had a different position, so some of them were thinking that maybe there will be some crashes. So what happens, because of some segments, you find that the business community, you know, fear any confusion because the business environment will be affected. So, and also some of our partners, they were a little bit scared what may happen after the elections. Like most of the foreign partners had to travel back to Dubai, Nairobi, and China until they monitor and after evaluation that the environment is safe and conducive for normal operations. That's when I think some of them will return back. But also the government tried to assure the business community. And NETA Uganda, with other stakeholders, we tried to partner with some government entities to make sure that there is that collaboration, to make sure that the interest of the business community is catered for. And also the security guaranteed us that they will make sure that they safeguard the business community so that operations can move on. But also the shutdown of the internet negatively, seriously affected the business community. The operations, most of them, you know, the digital platforms now which are used for startup businesses, the youth. You know, we have the IFRS system, and now mobile money, even up to now, transacting on mobile money is a little bit very hard. People claim they don't have float, withdrawal is not possible, and even now there is a lot of restriction, even accessing money from the bank, that they have to toss you up and down. So even we wanted, when that happened yesterday, our team resolved that we have to engage the Bankers Association to make sure that our operations as the business community is not affected. That just even withdraw of 10 million is not easy. So you find that such tensions scare the business community. Say what is happening. So generally you find that this time most of the operations were affected, and some businesses seriously occurred huge losses.
But because the government assured Uganda that because of security concerns, sometimes you have to bear with the situation. But we just pray that everything harmonizes and we make sure that we operate and meet our obligations.
Well, Thaddeus, you talked about government assured the business community of protection. Now, do you feel protected by government amidst this when we see a number of shops are just closed?
Yeah, you know, the number of shops being closed because we are getting several reports that which we are trying to coordinate and monitor, that some shops which were being, some business community which were operating on some days that they were arrested. But also we are puzzled that how can security arrest someone who is just in the shop operating his business? Because this is a private business without even causing any caveat. But we are trying to see exactly if it's true, and we shall coordinate with security to verify. And where possible, our legal team will come in to assist those people who are arrested. But I think that those also segments here with some traders. And they say, no, let me first go back in the village. I monitor until the situation is safe. But yesterday when I moved around the town, I found that most of the businesses are operating normally. There are just some few shops which are closed. But we want to assure the business community, but now business is operation as usual. Let them come and open. And even those that traveled up country, there is no need of being scared. Let them come and operate because now business is operating as usual.
Thaddeus, given the fact that apparently most of the businesses do depend on the internet for marketing, advertising, and also deliveries, how best do you think business that are focusing on that as their major business strategy can do about this ongoing internet shutdown that is fully not yet opened up for the business sector?
Yesterday, when I was engaging some of the startup businesses, because we have so many members who are operating on internet, some were saying for them they won't comply with the UCC guidelines. So you find that most of them they have applied VPN for survival. But also we are going to engage UCC because they are partners to make sure the concerns of the business community are considered. Because when you block them, and we are promoting technology adoption, so I think also it's not fair. Because if the business community is willing to coordinate and comply with all the guidelines UCC wanted to issue, then why after operationalizing the internet, why should you put restrictions? So it's like they are promoting VPN because someone has to contact and to be still operational. He needs to meet his obligations. You know, the cost of living in Uganda also is not so fair. So that's why I think we need to be so much in touch with different stakeholders and to engage UCC to make sure that they become more flexible and understand the business environment and the sensitivity of internet currently in the business operation and business world.
Right. Thank you very much. And indeed, that's a very profound perspective that you paint there. Now, let's look at elections themselves. One would wonder anyways, do elections really matter to traders, entrepreneurs, and investors?
Yes, of course, they matter a lot. You know, before, when I was the chairman of CASIT, logically they were saying that we should not be part of any political activity. And I told them, you know, politics affects the business community. There is no way you can avoid politics if you're a businessman. Because if you don't participate in politics, it means even other people who are not in business will select or will elect leaders who are not knowledgeable about the challenges of the business community. So that's why for us in NETA Uganda, we are trying to make sure that our members try to elect people who are knowledgeable, who can listen to the business community. And we told them openly we may not campaign for them, but if you see someone who can tackle your challenges, who can understand your problems, vote for that person. So elections are very sensitive to every Ugandan. That's why every Ugandan should try to pick interest in the leaders who are going to be elected. So participation in elections, I think, is the right and obligation of even every trader. We do respect the decisions which were made by Ugandans, because it's fine that we have some vocal leaders who were so useful in even handling the challenges of the business community, like Uganda. Unfortunately, he lost. So it seems, I don't know how the electorate decided. You find that Ruta Maguzi has been so helpful and easily accessible, but he lost. So you find that I think even the perception of some traders not participating in elections or campaigning or supporting some politicians may lead some very useful and knowledgeable politicians to lose their posts. But I think it's also important for the trading community. So any businessman who thinks that no politics is not concerned, I think that is myopic.
Now, you as a leader in the business community, did you or are you useful in terms of mobilizing the traders you're talking about to go and vote? Because most of the times I've seen during voting, polling stations in densely populated or high business towns have a very little turn up. And that makes me to wonder, then where are the traders? Because we believe these are places where they work, maybe where they could even have registered.
You are right, we fully participated and we are engaging them. Unfortunately, some vote from up country, some traveled up country. That's why I think in some polling stations the turnout was low, and also some were supporting their friends, their relatives. You know, campaigns are not easy. And that's why that collaboration and teamwork is so important. So someone, if you are going to have counted to support the relative or family, you cannot blame them. I have so many friends like who are a little bit related now, like to some honorables who are contesting. But all of them had traveled up country. But we fully participated and fully encouraged the traders to participate in the electoral process. And even we were collaborating with EC from the start, all the electoral processes, the registration, the verification, everything. So we are very fully involved, because it's our right and constitutional right to make sure that every Ugandan, every businessman participates or woman participates in the electoral process. But the turn-up, some people even fear. I'm the security personnel. Sometimes maybe it may have scared them, but as Neta Uganda, we really did our work.
Okay, Thaddeus, a week before the elections, the Uganda Communications Commission came out and categorically dismissed rumors of disruptions of electricity purchase and also mobile money, internet banking services. And they promised the business community that all these would keep operating normally, but it wasn't the case. And for the business people, I completely understand there is planning ahead. There is anticipating what did this mean, this abrupt shutting off, especially the financial services like mobile money, mean to the business community, and what are the business people doing with if they have to transact in bulk, because I've been informed that at the border, that is Malaba, Ugandans are now choosing to send money to Kenya, and then they withdraw from Kenya and then change to Ugandan shillings. Do you think it is also likely to affect the rate of the shilling, Uganda shilling against the Kenyan shilling when it comes to Forex?
I think that UCC team should really change the way they operate, because if they don't keep their statements, they should not rush to engage the public before harmonizing their position. You find that even they committed themselves that there won't be internet shutdown. Just after 1 week, then they had to change their position. This is unfortunate. I think it's non-professional. So before they engage the stakeholders, they should consult and they come up with a common position. It's unfortunate that their decisions and directives are affecting the business community, and any directive without engaging the business community, seriously, losses are incurred. So I think they should style up. It's unfortunate. There are partners, but the way this time they acted, I think the pressure for maybe from the Security Council was too much, but they should have special consideration for the business community. So even the transactions, I was puzzled that even when I sent someone to withdraw some money from the bank, they had even to query the amount, they had to chase him back to reduce the amount which you are withdrawing from the bank. So these unnecessary inconveniences, when the money is mine, they know I'm a businessman. Why should someone be inconvenienced? So the government should harmonize all the transactions so that now business operates as normal. We are not sitting, we are going to engage different stakeholders to make sure our members and the entire community can benefit normal operations of all transactions.
All right, in the same spirit of what...
And by the way, even I got shocked. There is one honorable whom I had who was trying even to convince us that, the ship damaged the internet cable. So this uncoordinated statement should be avoided also. They confuse the public.
Right. Now, in the same spirit of that exact submission you've made, just paint a picture of how this season has affected prices of essential commodities and services.
Most of the prices currently now, they have gone up. Even agro products, because they fear to transport them to town. And also, we have also some businessmen who want to always utilize any opportunity. So any scarcity to the business community may use it to maximize the profits. But other communities have been stable apart from agro products.
Thaddeus,
Yes,
you rightly said this has disrupted the business community, pointing out issues of mobile money, pointing out the internet, not being able to withdraw reasonable amounts of money from the bank. Now, as an association or as a body, do you have any plans for your members who could be deeply affected by these measures put in place so that they survive, they're not put out of business completely?
No, I think this is not going to take so long. Like I told you that we have engaged already different stakeholders. What we did in Meta Uganda, we have several collaboration as partners. I've told you that UCC, they are one of our partners, Uganda Bankers Association, because they are so key in this operation, and even most of the telecommunication companies. So already we are in touch, we are engaging them. Also, they are incurring losses. So when they harmonize the operations, the better. It's not going to take so long. But if any member comes up, we shall see how best we can coordinate and be assisted.
Okay, Thaddeus, the Uganda tourism sector is very essential in contributing, of course, revenue to Uganda, contributing to the GDP. And with what is happening, the discrepancies, what is the tourism sector or someone in hotels, someone in hospitality or even tours and travel supposed to do in this critical time? The fact that even transferring of money from the diaspora or from abroad is becoming a challenge for the business community.
Yeah, it's a very tricky situation currently. Most of our comrades in hospitality, they're incurring losses. And also, even some embassies were issuing up warnings that to their nationals that they should be conscious traveling to Uganda. But I think this is going to be of a short while. and very soon things now are harmonizing. I think they will be able to mitigate those shortcomings.
All right. Thank you so much, Thaddeus Musoke. We do have some comments coming through, so kindly allow us get into them. And if you're just joining the show, we're looking at the impact of elections on the business community, having this conversation with Thaddeus Musoke, the chairman of the National Entrepreneurs and Traders Association, Uganda. That is NETA. Good morning, Uganda. It's really unfortunate for the UCC to carry out such a mistake of shutting down the internet and mobile money without thinking of its effects both to the economy and the public. So sad, cry our Uganda. This is Edson, who is in Entebbe. Now, Thaddeus, do tell us what happens to business activity like sales, just for you to get into the detail and paint a picture for one to have that information. And of course, it definitely does help even in decision making. What happens to business activities like sales, supply chains, customer behavior during this season? What has happened so far?
Currently, you find that the transactions have totally reduced. Like if you want to make any payments, currently you cannot, because most of our agents now, they don't have float. Even they cannot deposit. So you find there is more that of that inconvenience. And also you find that some days back, we are trying to also going to monitor today, you find that the population in the city had totally reduced. People were scared even to come to the city because of uncertainty which was roaming around. But we have tried to coordinate and assure the public that everything is normal, and the security personnel have been trying to make sure that they assure, have been monitoring most of the media houses. They have been assuring the public that everything is okay. They should operate as normal. But I think that uncertainty try to scare even our clients. That's why the sales have been totally low. Even we had some comrades who tried to open some shops on Saturday, but by midday they had to close because they are not seeing any clients walking in to purchase anything. But that is understandable. Sometimes of that uncertainty, the businesses are affected, and you find that the losses, the sales have to reduce. But yesterday, somehow, you find that the population increased, and so you find that some operations were moving on, business operations are moving on so well, but the effect of transactions, mobile money plays a very vital role in the transactions of businesses in Uganda. That's why we're appealing to the government. Let it engage the telecommunication companies to make sure they harmonize mobile money operations. It's very sensitive to disorganize mobile money operations. Totally, it's affecting us.
Indeed. And just to also saying in the same spirit, looking at small-scale traders, as NETA, how are you involving them? How are you helping them? Do they feel left out? Are you playing any part, any role in this season to make sure that as a community, you're all in the fight together until it goes away?
Yes, we are engaging them, and to see how to what extent how they have been affected, and also to make sure that we find possible interventions to keep them afloat. So we are not seated. Our team is so busy trying to engage them, and I think very soon we shall find possible interventions to assist our comrades.
Now, Thaddeus, what is your message to traders in such trying moments of businesses, given the prevailing situations?
Okay, you find that in operations of any business entities, we need to plan for uncertainties. Uncertainties is part of life and is part of business planning. So we should plan for uncertainties to make sure that uncertainties don't affect us don't affect our businesses. So when we plan, we find possible interventions which can strive the business. So, but it's tricky because at times when for startup businesses, we find that also they are limited with cash or cash for operations, capital issues, but uncertainties, we need to plan for uncertainty. It's very important. That's why the saving culture, we have to promote it. You find that now the public holiday was for 2 days, and then you had to go for the weekend. So that prolongity affects these small businesses. So if you don't save, if you have issues with cash flows, so you find that they were totally in a very tricky situation. But as Better Uganda, we shall collaborate with them and we see how best we can assist them, and also to make sure that we strengthen and build the capacity of our traders.
All right, thank you very much, Thaddeus Musoke, for joining us this morning. It's been an honor speaking with you and learning what the business community looks like at this point in time. We've been looking at the impact of elections on the business community, and clearly, indeed, as he has cited out major points. One that has stood out for me, and I think for my colleagues would agree, it's the issue of mobile money. It seems like it's a very minor issue, but it's actually very, very big, and it's affecting transactions and businesses on a large scale, more than you can ever imagine, on the business community and in Uganda altogether.
And you can imagine, Julie, you cannot send more than 1.5 million. That is with mobile money. Right. And what people are resorting to right now is they go to an agent for them to withdraw the money. I will send the money to the private number of the agent, not the agent line. And then I'll put extra money for them to give me that cash, compared to when I'm sending on an agent line and the money is with, even let's look at the commission, because these telecommunications companies do give these agents money. So if I'm sending the money on a private agent's number, how is the business or how is the boss of the person going to benefit, and even the taxes? So it's quite disturbing, especially for the business community and also exports. You know, Uganda is a very significant exporter to East Africa and also Asia. How are these people handling the procurement, the logistics, without enough being empowerment to do these things? Because if I would want an invoice, and some of these things I cannot do because the internet is not fully opened. So I think the Bank of Uganda, bankers associations, cooperatives, URA need to come together and they try to, engage the stakeholders.
Convince UCC to find amicable ways, because I mean, if a system operates on the internet, mobile money, of course, not the internet really, but still, mobile money transactions were closed. Online marketing and branding and advertising for most companies. Really, Robert, anything you need to close with?
Well, I think for me, what I've taken home when you asked him about small-scale dealers, because we have big businesses that may thrive at this point of time, but you have people who in this uncertainty have eaten capital. Let me tell you, people are home. We had a public holiday. They were not making money. Some came to town, like he said, tried to open their shops, and things were like, go home. Or some, like he alleged, were arrested and detained for reasons they say they're going to investigate. Now, this longevity at home, people are feeding, people are eating. Every day, and idleness as well. Now, we may come back from this. I'm glad the situation is getting back to normal, because there's a place I used to pass through and there were roadblocks. Yesterday, I didn't find the roadblock there. It was a sign that at least now peace is resuming. Not to say that there was a time when there was no peace, but of course, you had some pockets
of tension
here and there, of tension here and there. So that is, for me, my worry. People who are going to chew their capital. Right. And by the time you open up, these people, you remember most of our businesses, those informal sector, they're not even insured. Not even insured.
Indeed.
When
and
the man eats his capital, or woman, either they have to sell their property, or what seemingly for us we may be in a comfortable zone, that person is going back to zero.
Indeed,
what
and
about the loans, people paying interest to these loans, servicing loans and they cannot really make payments.
Indeed.
And we're going to see shooting of interest rates for this. It's really a broad one when it comes to business.
It's very, very broad indeed, and we hope this comes to some sense of normalcy. Keep in mind that February 10th, of course, is back to school, so it's a period that parents are also worried about the back to school season. Anyways, that brings us to the end of this conversation. In just a bit, in a few minutes, we'll be having a conversation on peace, especially in line and light with the youth. So do stay tuned and save the number 0709 602592 and be part of the conversation. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Ginshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Plant extract, scientific ratio. Take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning, eat twice a day. Don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Ginshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you stay in shape. Please follow medical advice when taking this product. For more information, visit our website www.hgo.com or call 0800 335555.
Electing your leaders at various elective positions is your fundamental human right. Here's how to cast your vote safely and correctly. Step 1. Go to the polling station where you're registered. Step 2. Present your national ID or voter location slip for officials to confirm your name on the register. Step 3. Your identity is verified using the Biometric Voter Verification Kit, fingerprint or face scan. Biometric verification is mandatory to ensure only eligible voters vote. Step 4. Your ballot is scanned and issued to guarantee it's valid. Step 5. Mark your choice in secret, cast your ballot, and get inked. Polling runs from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Your identity protected, your vote secure. Turn up and vote. My vote, my voice.
The Senior Citizens Grant under the Social Assistance Grants for Empowerment SAGE program is Uganda's social protection flagship program, providing regular, predictable, and reliable direct income support to older persons. Since inception in 2010, the SAGE program has positively impacted beneficiaries' livelihoods, contributing to the overall national socio-economic transformation. The government of Uganda has continued to fulfill its commitment to the expansion and sustainability of the SAGE program, ensuring income security, dignity, and improved basic standard of living for older persons in all local governments across the country.
akakwera kwida babita ni ku radio yafu yatukobera yamatiza najo kutaya kubawo ali mwekandise.
Expanding social protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Brought to you by Uniquely Ours. Explore Uganda.
Balamusiza basebo ne banyabo. It's an amazing morning coming all the way from the Lubiri or the Kabaka's Palace. It is the amazing building behind me, and it is today that we are going to find out what is in the palace. What are the stories attached to the palace? Does the king sleep in, or it is his office? We've been seeing the straight line. We get to see the drum in Mengo, and we're wondering what are the stories attached to these. For those of you that usually go through Mengo and around the Lubiri, you've seen the totems along the roads. Now, we are bringing you the entire story, and not forgetting what do you find in the Lubiri. Many of you have watched movies. Maybe a few things can relate. Maybe we have other unique things here. So get to know what the Lubiri holds and the stories behind them this morning. And with me this morning is Mwami Sechibule Elvis, who is going to tell us more about the Kabaka's Palace. You just have the right person. He's the tour guide of the Lubiri, and he will give us all the information that you need to know about this place.
Thank you very much, Zakia. My name is Elvis. As you've introduced me, I welcome you at the King's Palace. The place where we are, again, this is the official palace for the King of Uganda. Kabaka Ronald Mwenda Mutebi, the 36th King of Uganda. This is his official palace. This palace has a lot of history attached to the Kingdom of Uganda, and it has been a home for the last 3 kings, kings like Mwanga, kings like Daudi Chwa, and Sir Edward Mutesa II, the dad of the current king. This palace has a norm that kings could always establish themselves palaces. It was Kabaka Mwanga, the first king who established his capital here in 1885. Kabaka Mwanga succeeded his dad Mutesa I. Mutesa had his own in Kasubi. Then Mwanga established here his in 1885. Mwanga came into power during the colonial era. That's what is so much remembered about him. He clashed with the British. It is important to tell you that he was the first king of Uganda who made an agreement with the British. That was the 1894 British Protectorate, which led us to know Uganda, as it was a British colony, was under the British control. Then he later fell out with the British. They clashed. He was even exiled twice. For the second time, he was exiled in the Seychelles Island in the Indian Ocean. His remains are brought back and buried at the tombs. Then king number 2 is King Daudi Chwa. Daudi Chwa became king at a tender age. He was almost 13 months. That is 1 year and 1 month. Since he became a king at that age, honestly, he knew nothing. So he couldn't build for himself a palace like how kings do. He used the palace of his dad. And he became king number 2 to sleep in this very place. His exposure to the European lifestyle is the one who gave him the idea of constructing this building, the way how it looks modern. Actually, his first time to explore Europe, the Buckingham Palace, that's when he got up this idea. So this building is one of the oldest structures we have in the country, constructed 1922 and finished 1933. This was the reign of Kabaka Daudi Chwa. Not only that, but he was a very liberal king. exposure of the girls to education, because Africa, boys were the ones which were prioritized when it came to school. Women eating eggs and chicken because it was initially taboo. We all saw this during the reign of Kabaka Daudi Chwa. Then the last king to stay here is Sir Edward Mutesa II. Mutesa II, this was the palace where he was when it was attacked in 1966 by Idi Amin on the orders of Milton Obote. Kingdoms were abolished. Obote rubbished the Lancaster Conference, which had given Buganda a federal state. And kingdoms were abolished, they were placed on a stop. This palace was turned to be a barracks. For almost 27 years, we had no kingdoms. 1993, kingdoms were brought back, and the current king was crowned, King Ronald Muwenda Mutebi II. So he does not literally sleep here due to the bad history and the memories attached on this palace. He just uses this place as his office. When he has visitors, he meets them here. Then he proceeds out to other palaces. Some of the people whom he have met in this place, we have the Sultan of Sokoto from Zanzibar. We have the Asante Hene, Nana Osei Tutu Otumufuo of Ghana, the late great Raila Amolo Odinga. This is the place where they've been meeting the king of Buganda. Yeah. So in the palace compounds, this is where the ceremonies are prepared. We've had ceremonies like the coronation ceremony, the king's birthday. This is the place where most of them have been being organized. Yeah.
So when you talked about this being invaded,
yes,
and then kingdoms were abolished until a certain time when the current king came in, and he said it was a barracks.
Yes.
So there was nothing like this before. He had to reconstruct and own the land again.
Actually, when the palace was attacked, even the building was somehow damaged. Its official renovation happened 1997 when the army vacated this land. Not only Buganda, but most of other kingdoms, their palaces, even if you go to Fort Potro, that palace of the King of Toro, it was a barracks. So officially vacated, and then the palace officially came back in the hands of the people of Buganda. The building had to be renovated and restored. Yeah.
So weren't there damages made of misplacing some of the things that were owned by the kings then?
Actually, a lot of things were destroyed. We had a lot of royal regalia and treasure inside this palace, pictures, and the kind of portraits, and lots of things during the reign of Idi Amin and Obote were all taken out. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Brought to you by Uniquely Ours. Explore Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah yo, baby dondolo.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100*21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Genshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Plant extract, scientific ratio. Take 3 capsules each time. active ingredient accelerates fat burning, eat twice a day, don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Ginshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you stay in shape. Please follow medical advice when taking this product. For more information, visit our website www.hgo.com or call 0800 335555.
Electing your leaders at various elective positions is your fundamental human right. Here's how to cast your vote safely and correctly. Step 1. Go to the polling station where you're registered. Step 2. Present your national ID or voter location slip for officials to confirm your name on the register. Step 3. Your identity is verified using the Biometric Voter Verification Kit, fingerprint or face scan. Biometric verification is mandatory to ensure only eligible voters vote. Step 4. Your ballot is scanned and issued to guarantee it's valid. Step 5. Mark your choice in secret, cast your ballot, and get inked. Polling runs from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Your identity protected, your vote secure. Turn up and vote. My vote, my voice.
The Senior Citizens Grant under the Social Assistance Grants for Empowerment SAGE program is Uganda's social protection flagship program, providing regular, predictable, and reliable direct income support to older persons. Since inception in 2010, the SAGE program has positively impacted beneficiaries' livelihoods, contributing to the overall national socio-economic transformation. The government of Uganda has continued to fulfill its commitment to the expansion and sustainability of the SAGE program, ensuring income security, dignity, and improved basic standard of living for older persons in all local governments across the country.
akakola kwida babita kuchini ku radio yatukobera yamatiza najo kutaya kubawo ali mwekandise akasende kasoka nkafuna nagwa munkuchi enkoko edabadukulu bange eruyo kabiri tuyafuna eruyo kubiri nata munkuchi akabizi ngangulya ki kiegulya ngulya badukulu bange government enambi mubukebona empeku iki akasente nganimwe munkuchi ekyokulya ekyabadukulu bange kikyaki ebintu ebyenfuna okuyambibwa mba nsaba gavumenti obusente bwetugwa butono bungi nga nkusaba ebe etugemeku etwongezeku tikati nze nebizibu nga ebyobulwaire omuntu amaiso gakibulira omugongo guliuki guluma era ebigero birima bume era nesaawa eyo nfuna nkozesa ki eddagala ery'ekirugavu mpakirekola nga nsaba gavumenti ebe nga etwongerewo kasente ndikusiima gavumenti ebintu buyalambala nalowooza ati benja okutwala kambafune kuyoki nga tukozeki titumusabye kyaba kirowoozo kye kyamukulu waife atutwala.
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Ginshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Plant extract, scientific ratio. Take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning, eat twice a day. Don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Ginshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you stay in shape. Please follow medical advice when taking this product. For more information, visit our website www.hgo.com or call 0800 335555.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
The Senior Citizens Grant under the Social Assistance Grants for Empowerment SAGE program is Uganda's social protection flagship program, providing regular, predictable, and reliable direct income support to older persons. Since inception in 2010, the SAGE program has positively impacted beneficiaries' livelihoods, contributing to the overall national socio-economic transformation. The government of Uganda has continued to fulfill its commitment to the expansion and sustainability of the SAGE program, ensuring income security, dignity, and improved basic standard of living for older persons in all local governments across the country.
I am called Odong Martin. I am 70 years old. I come from Naitakwai Parish, Nadunget Sub-County. This village is called Katanga. I knew about this SAGE money in, I don't remember very well the year, I think around 2013-14 is when I heard about this SAGE program. We were gathered at Katanga village as the elders. They say they need elders from 60 years. So we were gathered, and then I was part of the team who was identifying, because by then there were no IDs by then. So we were gathered together with the old women, said verification of years. When were you born? Then some of us were just, putting these events. I was born during the time of this, during the time of this, during the time of this, because for us, Karamajong, we identify the years through events. So that's how we need, and we said, okay, so-and-so is fit to be in this SAGE program, 60, because they said 60 above. So that's how I got it. The benefits actually when it first came, because we were receiving, they told us we were receiving the first bunch of money, we received 25. These 25, we really were grateful because for us to get the money, this 25 by then was very, it was good money. So I could buy, a kilo of sugar. I could get at least even call my friends to share. I think today we have got something, call some kwete. So, and then we can also get some meat by that time. So that's how I got this money. Then I was also selling a bit of petrol, no? I would get had it to get 1 jerrycan of petrol to sell in my shop. So that's how I could get this 25. Then eventually it went. Then we were supposed to get now by 2 months, that is 50,000. And then I said, I think it was a good move. So, and it was frequent, after every 2 months, we would get 50, every 2 months, then I would plan. Even with this money now, I would buy some books for my grandchildren, you see. That's how I began benefiting this money. And when it is time for cultivation also, I would take two people to the garden, because I'm unable to go to the garden to help my wife. My wife was not the beneficiary. So whenever I could get this money, I would also send people there to the garden to go and dig if it is time for digging, or weeding if it was time for weeding. I would also, if it is time for beginning to cultivate, I would buy seeds, yes, to go and plant. So that's how I benefited. First of all, the first challenge, in Karamoja here, the timing when this money is coming, it went on for 1 year when it was coming regularly, after 2 months, But when it went almost towards some end, then it delayed. We greatly thank the government, because for sure, as a person, I say this money, I have not gone to somebody's garden to work for it. This is really a kind of manner for us, the elders, to give ourselves, however small it is. We thank the government for that initiative.
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
A very good morning to you. It is UBC TV that you are watching, here to inspire you. And thank you so much for choosing to watch UBC TV this morning. 2026 general elections still going on until the 4th of February. But after voting for who the next president of Uganda is, who we have now, 2026-2031, and members of parliament, let us shift focus on peace and unity. And we're having this conversation really in studio this morning with Jacob Eyero, who is the former chairman of the National Youth Council and active NRM youth mobilizer. Be part of the show. Ask the question, share your opinion. 0709 602 592. The country is under undeniable tension in one way or the other, and the youth are at the forefront of every event, ugly event that's taking place on the streets at your village, where you stay, whatever you've witnessed, it's young people that you are actually seeing. Many questions, few answers. Let's take it on from there. Jacob, good morning.
Good morning, Julie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Indeed, a pleasure to have you always,
Thank you.
and to just have these conversations with you. Let's just take it from there. What can be done? There's a tension on ground. Villages are experiencing and witnessing a lot of rarely seen activities, men in army uniform, any form of chaos, and you're seeing young people being...
Well, maybe let me first give the spoiler. We are not having those tensions in over 90% of Uganda. We are having it in about 10% of the geography of Uganda. And by geography, I mean some of the cities, not all the cities, and some municipal areas. Why that is the case is because the election was largely peaceful. The election was largely embraced by the communities. Where we're having challenges as a country now is areas that were already gas-lit areas before the elections. Excuse me. So we as a country now, we are looking at what's going forward. And for many of these areas where the elections were tense, and I can tell you that some of those areas, the elections have not even been declared to now. If you're talking about a Jury County, where the government chief whip is from, the elections were neck to neck, but the people have remained peaceful. So it's not really a question of whether people know what they want or not, because they know everybody is working for peace. It's really a question of making sure we leave no stone unturned and do not give opportunity to some of the things that are possible. And I'll tell you one of the things that are possible. For example, today we were, I was struggling to get back on the internet. I noticed that yes, the internet is on, but you actually cannot access some of the sites or some of the platforms on mainstream internet unless maybe on fiber and so on. Why that is the case is because we are still having maneuvers to misinform the public, maneuvers to give information that is not on the basis of facts, and actually that distorts the already established communication from official channels like the Electoral Commission. So when you look at it very well, for example, the leading opposition figure claiming that he was arrested, and then shortly after he was not arrested, but it had already become a global phenomenon and the description of what is happening in Uganda. That's the first thing. The second thing is that there is a very deliberate communication from people who do not wish Ugandans well. As you said, we're still in elections. There was an election yesterday for the workers' representatives to Parliament that was peaceful. I was there physically, where my sister Naku emerged the National Female Workers Member of Parliament and 4 others to represent the workers. However, every media personality who was there saying, oh, this is more peaceful than the last one. So meaning, and yet it drew more numbers because suddenly there were so many interest factors in who is going there. But there is a group, as that is going on, there's a group which is telling people in the local dialect, Mukabanje. And Mukabanje, for those that do not know Uganda, means go out and demand for what is rightfully yours. But what is rightfully yours was cast. And you cast your ballot, your single ballot as an individual. If the issue is that that was not tallied, then the right procedure would be to seek solace or redress in our judicial process, which has proven from time to time that in the case of election petitions, it is trustworthy and it will deliver on the questions of the day, especially on the elections that the people care a lot about. And I think that's where we need to start from. So the security forces are working to ensure that we do not lose traction of where we're going. yes, one election was held, but actually the elections of the more representatives have not yet been held. There are more district councillors to be elected than there were members of parliament. There were 8 candidates for president, but in fact, if you go to how many candidates are in the district races that are just happening at the end of the coming week, we are looking at over 1,000 people to be elected. So it is important that we maintain the peace so we can actually execute the delivery of the mandate. And that's very important for all of us.
And speaking of those elections that are still pending and are for us to be part of, hopefully you're looking forward to going to cast your vote. This Thursday, 22nd, is one of them. Make sure that you are involved in electing your local council leader. Now, from your experience, Jacob, and service at that, how would you describe the role of young people in shaping post-election peace in Uganda at this point in time?
I think young people are central to any idea of peace in the country. If you listen carefully to the presidential winning address, he was speaking more to the thanks he's giving Ugandans for rejecting any ideas to destabilize the country. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, that when you're talking about destabilization of the peace, you're talking about young people either being mobilized or mobilizing amongst their number to come in and distort the peace. So in reality, young people are central to the actions of restlessness or the protection of the peace of a community. Young people have the energy to run for many days on little food just to achieve an agenda. So if that is the nature of young people, then that energy can be the one substituted to maintain the peace in terms of ensuring that young people are reporting any person that is attempting to mobilize them for whatever purpose that would distort the public order and peace. So for me, young people are central to that question. But more importantly, young people are now the fastest way to communicate. Because if you want to communicate, you'll give it to someone on TikTok. That person is usually a young person. All these top TikTokers, top people on the socials are young people in their 20s, at the very oldest in their early 30s. And what are they doing? They are informing millions across the world of whether something is true or something is not true. I saw very many people falling prey to whether something was true or untrue. Yet we were talking about legacy media. If UBC said Jacob Beyeru was arrested, almost every Ugandan will believe it. How about if media that is international says it? How about media that is respected, that is global legacy media? That will move a long way. So what did we do as young people? We combated it by our numbers and say, no, these are actually the facts. And within the hour, within the day, many of these so-called very high-level media houses, very trustworthy, the term is usually that they are credible and they verify their sources, were wrong. And how were they wrong? By the power of young people to spread the right information very quickly. So young people are tools that we can utilize to be the voices that can reach where we want to reach. And usually, if we are able to get them the right information, mobilize them in the good number, they are able to execute that role with finesse. But the third thing that I think is also important is that young people are the core of our community. For every 100 Ugandans you're seeing, 75 are below 30 years. Right. But if you're talking about the young people who are between 15, and by 15 I mean the one that can act in community to destabilize it, 15 to about 35, you're talking about 30 to 40% of our population in reality. So young people are the numbers, they are the demographic. If you want to move a huge crowd here, you're going to move young people. If you saw all the presidential rallies, if you looked at all the opposition rallies, young people were the numbers you are looking at in their totality. What does that mean? That actually means that if you want our country to be central to quests for peace, to be central to maintaining order, to be central to looking at our vision, what do we want for Uganda? that has to be communicated by the multitudes of young people. So we believe, and I believe, that if you are investing in young people to be the face of the vision of the country, you are more likely to be communicating with the majority of the country, that the country will own, the people will own it, because that number will represent by a vast majority the people of Uganda.
And that brings me to now the next 5 years as the NRM leads Uganda. How do you think, I don't know if it's how do you suggest or how do you think or how do, what are you looking forward to in regards to young people being involved? Because as it is, the fact as you've stated it, Uganda is largely young. Everything you see right now, you'll see young people at the forefront. And that means that even in the places of decision making, the places of governance, the places that mean sitting at the table, we need to see more young people and more vibrant energy and representation at those tables. Looking at the cabinet, places of service, how best do you think this can be achieved? Because we haven't seen it in the past regimes. We've seen it here and there, but that representation is needed that changes the narrative at the end of the day. And I believe it's part of the ways that can nurture the narrative of peace and encouragement. So how do you think this can pan out in the next 5 years?
Well, firstly, I think more numbers is important. Like you rightly put, one ministerial appointment for a person below 35 in a figure of 80 ministers will raise the eyebrow among young people and say, yeah, this is tokenism. You know, we have given one bone to 100 dogs, so to speak. But in reality, if you look at actual governance in Uganda and the governance structure of Uganda, if you want to talk about impacting the people of Uganda through governance, then you're talking about the local governance structure. What happens in parliament by representatives being young very scarcely impacts the population of young people. In fact, you are going to end up with a scenario, even if the whole of parliament were young, it would not translate per se into young people in Uganda accessing the services they need to access. Why? Because services are delivered at the grassroots. When you talk about government programs, and let me just build that foundation. In the last 5 years, government implemented the parish development model. How did young people benefit? By 2024, by the end of 2024, 26% of beneficiaries of the parish development model were young people between 18 and 30. By the close of the 2025 year, calendar year, we were looking at young people almost hitting 40% of beneficiaries. And by young, I mean people who are 35 to 18 of beneficiaries of the parish development model. Why was that possible? Because the parish development model policy already had a quota of 30% for young people, very clearly spelled out. Number one. Number two, the committee that was distributing the money or selecting beneficiaries per parish was actually a committee that has the chairperson of the young people of that parish represented in that committee. So if you look at that in terms of numbers, that is 10,000, about 500 youth leaders determining beneficiaries of 100 million per parish. That is where the significance of the impact of governance comes from. If that young person sleeps in their parish committee and says, me, you can give me 50,000, I will not be a participant in this committee decision. What you end up with is that over 100 young people in that committee over the 3-year period, 4-year period, 5-year period do not benefit from the 500 million that comes in the PDM. We're not talking about money that has come from recovery. So in as much as government has this one minister, 100 young people per parish will not benefit if the one chairperson of that parish committee representation does not act. For me, that is more significant. So local government young leaders, you have 2 youth councillors who must be astute, they must be vocal to ensure that what happens in the local government contract section benefits young entrepreneurs. That is not achieved at Parliament. That's not achieved. There is no minister who heads the procurement committee. We, in the last tenure of government, achieved what we called a reservation scheme under the PPDA, to say if there is a contract in local government or that is below 10 million and below, or there is a contract in central government, whatever ministry, whatever parastatal, that is 30 million and below, that should have consideration of special interest companies. And by that, we mean young people-led companies. Now, that, if you contextualize it in an 82 trillion budget, where maybe about 60 trillion is actually in actual expenditure by government, of the 60 trillion, you have 60% of that money going into procurement. That's how government spends that money. So if you want to impact young people, then young entrepreneurs need to take advantage of their quotas in the reservation scheme under procurement. That is how you build that. If you want to say you are helping young people in the next government, it is not how many more are talking alone. It is also how many more are benefiting. I was looking at the numbers of members of parliament who are coming in, and I can assure you parliament is getting younger. It's not getting older, it's getting younger. What does that mean? Young people are getting more urgency. I saw my sister Lenia Charity winning the member of parliament for Vura County, not Arua woman MP, but she came for the constituency and she won it. When you look at Leptong district, you're looking at a very young and vibrant youth leader, Lakisa Masi, who was serving in the National Youth Council, is now the district woman member of parliament. When you look at Buko, you're talking about an immediate former youth council chairperson in Brian Kapiagon coming in to be the constituency member of parliament. You're still having people like Daudi Kabanda, who are young but are very much on the scene, Honorable Jamutoro, Honorable Court, Honorable Rugumayo. So you can see that young people are coming on the fray. But don't mistake the numbers in parliament for actual impact on ground. It is good to see young people in parliament, but it is more important to impact young people in the communities. And what do I mean by that? Government over the last 5-year period has built about 116 thereabout seed schools. That in reality translates to impacting the young population in rural areas, because seed schools are all under the USE program. 116 secondary seed schools means you are looking at a reduction in the dropout rate of the girl child who is 15, who is 18, who is considering that the length of time spent in school is not worth the length of time you might take to get married, or I mean, it's not worth the comparison. They would rather go and get married and start out at life because they're not seeing a way ahead. So that is changing. If we can influence policy to present more of that and say we want about, if we had 117 seed schools in the last 5 years, let's have this time 250 seed schools in the 5-year tenure. So I'm saying 50 schools per year. Then you're addressing the real issues that are producing the problem of young people who are neither in school, education, employment, or training, which is now our emerging problem, those young people. And if our policies, if our participation in governance, whether we're in cabinet or not, whether we're in parliament or not, does not affect that number, our presence is not yet good enough.
Now, if we still stay on that matter, and in just a bit we're getting into the comments, but looking at the language of the youth in this day and age, face is something that speaks a lot. Yes. Brand is something that speaks a lot. Don't you think that in line with having all the message, the core message pushed, and at the core of NRM's message, peace is part of that, being pushed means that whilst the grassroots are being pushed for, the local governance is being pushed for, that even these places that are in the faces of the youth who are always on social media, they're always looking at these members of parliament, looking at these cabinet ministers, that they need to have people who they relate with in line with brand image that speak to them, whilst they encourage them to also take part in grassroots. I'll speak for grassroots because I've been quite active around grassroots, and you find that there's a lot of dirt also that goes on there, and allowing younger people to engage and just have mantles shifted from one person to another is also very, very hard, which leaves these young people who are growing into are growing out of their youthfulness, stagnant and just in space. They want to be involved, but then they're not allowed to be involved. They want to be inspired, but whoever is supposed to be to inspire them at the top is also not someone they relate with, and you find that they are in the middle.
Well, the way I see it, you need to choose what you want to achieve. If you don't choose what you want to achieve, you will be very busy but moving in circles. You know, you can run 50 kilometers and you have 0 displacement. In mathematics, we saw it that way. Or you can run 1 kilometer and you have a net displacement of 1 kilometer.
Right.
You are better than the person who ran 50 but 0 displacement.
Yeah.
So the distance you are going to do what you're doing must be measured in terms of the output. What are you achieving? And for me, this is a very important question. If you say that we are here, we are reporting crime as young people, for example, what are you achieving by that report? Is it to expose the corruption? Well, that is a noble cause if you're exposing corruption in the PDM. But if the exposure of corruption does not translate into more young people in that community being known to benefit, then you have a problem. One of the things that we're very interested in as young people that were involved in the campaigns this time in the NRM, I chaired a campaign called the Sauti ya Vijana, the voice of young people in this campaign. And that campaign, we were insisting to say, okay, if you go to a community and you have young people and you have NRM supporters, I want to ask the young people, whether NRM or not, whether they are wearing the NRM shirt or not, whether they know the government programs for youth in this area. If they do not know the government programs for youth in that area, then the support of the NRM in that area is dwindling, because that group of young people are the ones that influence their communities. If you go to a football pitch on any evening in anywhere in Uganda, you are talking about 30 young people and above gathering on a daily basis. If in that football pitch there is no beneficiary of the PDM or the YLP, or there is no knowledge of those programs, then you are not achieving the right goals in that community. If you're just picking 1 or 2 people, you cannot transform a society without mass understanding of the ideology that transforms that society. And by ideology, I do not mean the political ideology. I just mean the local economy. That if I have 10 chickens, in 4 months, I will make this much money. If I reinvest it, it will go. If that education is not at the community level, then you're not going to achieve what you want in transformation for that community. And for me, that is why the question is important. What are you achieving as young people, as you organize? If you cannot measure what you're achieving over the year, you might decide that the most important thing now is to achieve a situation of restlessness.
All right.
And that's very important.
Let's look at some of the comments in case you're just joining in. We're trying to shift our focus to peace and unity in Uganda after the elections that took place last Thursday into the weekend. 0709-602592 is the WhatsApp number that you should engage and be part of the conversation. We're having this conversation with Jacob Ayero, who is the former chairman of the National Youth Council and a very active youth NRM mobilizer. Mugabe Robert here comes through and says Uganda is not yet at the level of practicing democracy. Imagine, what do they mean? They want to hide, but what do they want to hide? By removing the internet during voting. Our businesses were totally down and we have no peace whatsoever. That is Mugabe Ronald who states that. Someone else comes through and says, my name is Regina, I am a mother, I'm a judge, I'm a proud Ugandan. To all fellow Ugandans, internet has become evil in our country. Majority Bazukulu no longer want to toil. They all think they can survive using social media only. Some of them have stopped school. They are TikToking throughout. Can we have serious regulations on social media, particularly TikTok, please? Thank you. This is Regina. Thank you, Regina, for getting in touch. And good morning. I take up this saying, we are the leaders of tomorrow. and tomorrow is now. So we can't forget the fact that the youth are dominating the Ugandan population, and we should allow them participate in current national affairs. This is Edson Mohanji in Entebbe. And finally, good morning, Uganda. Why can someone advise youth who are abroad to stop igniting people here in Uganda to, on protesting and doing other kinds of unlawful activity? Good morning. Why imagine, I hope I'm getting your comment right, but you say, why I imagine some radios and some tests misinform the public and why they would be negative of their own country. I think UCC has the duty to know and regulate according to the law. This is Dennis from Banda viewing now. Oh, I think you meant why radios, some radios and TVs are misinforming, and you ask the UCC to regulate this now. Thank you, Dennis, for being on the show. Always some of those comments coming through. What are your 2 cents?
Well, Mugabe has struck me the most. I mean, all of us are disgusted with the lack of internet on any day, because Uganda has one of the most reliable internets on this continent, actually. And so we were so accustomed to living on the internet that we felt very strange when it was off. Now it is on. As I arrived here, I was listening to the radio, and the gentleman presenting was so frustrated by the nature of what we have for now. We've reopened, but what we have is not what we were with. But you know, you need to look at the internet in its reality. The internet is like going to a market, Nakawa market, Nakasero. You give everyone a loudspeaker and a microphone. And then you say, please, we want to listen to you, talk to us. Will you hear anything? It will be flying in all kinds of directions. This one's talking about their child's school fees, the other one's talking about how the road mayor has not done what this one has. So by the time you are done with 1 minute of listening, you just have a headache. That's the internet. And so it's important that you understand that it doesn't matter what amount of internet people are going to access. It is going to be like a marketplace where everyone has a microphone. For me, what is important is the comparative, the opportunity that you would have lost by having the internet on. I have already said this before on this TV station, UBC. It's not as important what we have lost in 2, 3, 4 days, even if it is 1 week of the economic capacity of Uganda. We have, I mean, we stayed in lockdown for how long with curfew? Why? Because we are protecting the lives of Ugandans. This internet that looks very innocent, looks just a platform somewhere, is very dangerous in reality in terms of wrongful mobilization. Yes, we can have young people mobilize, but the law of news is that bad news moves faster than good news. People will share the impact of a fight somewhere faster than they will share a preacher's message. In fact, they may even get annoyed that there's a preacher when we have this news moving around. So for me, it's better to be ready, it's better to delay, to be patient, than to be sorry. And we all hope that the electoral season, because we still have elections, if in fact we are saying that the internet is waiting because of elections, then we are now going into more dangerous territory. Why? Because now, instead of the other one where we are monitoring what the National Tally Center is saying, this time we are monitoring every district tally center. And in terms of localized politics, these are communities that live with each other. They're not talking about President Museveni somewhere very distant and Bobby Wine. No, they were now talking about an Eru and maybe a Mwine here in our village here. So this charge that you are having and so on will be, can be a tool that's misused. We all hope that the internet works faster, that we get better internet sooner rather than later, but we need to have responsible internet usage. Right. And until we see that on the internet itself, I can assure you it is better to be patient than to be sorry.
getting into more of your comments, and our time is really trying to chase us out of here, but I hope we can dissect and consume as much as possible. Good morning, UBC. I'm Imora Linda from Kwanya, just requesting for the number of Sauti ya Vijana chatbot. Thank you. You'll definitely be receiving it from Jacob in just a bit. Thank you for the show. I am Sam Arimo, talking about peace and reconciliation. We'll just be maybe laying down our thoughts and ideas, but both government and the opposition will continue staying parallel to their own lines. Language being used is never appealing to call for reconciliation. And Emmanuel from Kayunga says people are now going to die of hunger because people saved their money on their accounts and yet they can't withdraw it. If the government had to target the internet, why are our accounts involved? And this is in regards to mobile money, because even withdrawing money from mobile money is proving to be very, very hard. I think this internet is limited because I tried to speak with my brothers and sisters abroad, but it failed. The elections were free and fair. This is Victor Gumisiriza. Thank you, Victor, for getting in touch. I think we can start with Emora Linda, who wants to get the chatbot number of Sauti ya Vijana.
Well, Linda can visit our X handle, Sauti ya Vijana. She will see that chatbot. I was just looking through. You don't have a specific number that you say this is a number. The chatbot is an online presence, so we can always have that. So as long as you can go to the socials, we'll keep having the chatbot present. But also it will be reaching out to people as time goes on. We're expanding the usage of that chatbot. And actually that's part of the thing, that our contribution is that we need to reach young people where they are. Not insist that young people should come where we gather. I mean, in a hotel room, you can have 100 young people for a conference or whatever nature of training on peace. But over WhatsApp messaging, if you have a way you can manipulate technology, young people in their millions can be reached using chatbots, and they get to interact with you. And these are the opportunities. This is a good way of using the internet.
Speaking of which, that reminds me, the fact that it's shockingly, it would shock you to learn that 14 million Ugandans use the internet out of 50 million of us, close to 50 million of us. And because 75% are young people, 14 million is a shocking number. You'd expect half, at least maybe half of Ugandans use the internet.
You need to look at the numbers well. 14 million Ugandans are active users of the internet.
Yes.
For example, the person who's talking about banking, okay? All nature of banking relies in some way on the internet. All nature of banking, because banks have to communicate with each other. And so for all the banked Ugandans, there is some usage of the internet. That's indirectly. But more directly, you talk about the penetration of smart mobile phones and the penetration of internet access. Uganda, like I was saying, has some of the best. We are in the top 10 in Africa on internet penetration. But
one of the most expensive as well.
Actually, no. We are actually one of the most competitive in cost of internet. If you go to look at the cost of internet in countries which we are very happy about, South Africa, Ghana, Egypt, Morocco, you will be shocked that Uganda actually has a very competitive rate of internet costs. It's not as cheap as we desire, but I think it's getting cheaper. For fiber internet, I know that companies are now offering 70,000 a month for unlimited internet. The only problem is you can't always sit at home. And so if you have unlimited at home and you have unlimited at your workplace, it's just 140,000 for over 10 people. You can afford that. If you save 14,000 per person at our workplace, or 10,000 for 7 people, that's unlimited internet for you on fiber and cable internet. That is something that you need to take advantage of. But I mean, I would prefer that my internet is bought by my phone and so on. The second thing is, yes, there is an inconvenience to life, but I think we shouldn't exaggerate it for the purpose of TV, because you can actually transact on mobile money, but it's just that the transaction has limits. During election time, you could send up to 500,000 as a limit. You could not send beyond that. But to withdraw was restricted. But that didn't mean that you could not spend on MomoPay or Airtel Pay or whichever. These merchant payment methods were actually working. So what was restricted was the movement of hard cash. That I pick money, hand it over to Julie. That was restricted. And why was that restricted? Because it was a tool that was used, one, to bribe voters, but also two, to actually mobilize people. What happens is that during elections, people do not want you to send to my mobile money because they don't want a trail of criminal activities. So they spend hand to hand. And in that expenditure, you are able to have criminals execute what they want to do. So that restriction of maintaining, if you're transacting in mobile money, it must be traceable. It cannot be that I have picked 10 million or 5 million, handed it over to Julie. It looks like I am buying tomatoes from her, but in reality, she is going to buy sticks and hand over to boys to beat up people in the community. That was restricted. Maybe just to speak to the other point that I thought was important to note. Young Ugandans need to own the processes of this country. When we say, where do we want to go as a country, whether it's in terms of the economy, like for example, now the immediate necessity is the peace after the election, the post-election peace. That needs to be owned by us. And I say, look, as a Yeru Jacob, whether you are NUP and I am NRM, or you are ANT and the other is FDC, let's first talk about Uganda. Uganda is peaceful, Uganda is safe. The rest of the things we can work out through development process. But let's not decide that we must distort the public order to achieve what is selfish, whether it's to NRM or to DP. And I'm saying this because in some instances, it is the winning people that are caning people. There was a case, I think, in Wakiso, where the candidate was mobilizing for destabilization on account of the fact that he was not going to be declared. So when the people arrived, they were now declaring that candidate. Said, what is going on again? They had come to now beat up people. So it is not true that people mobilize these acts because they are in positions of disadvantage. No. Some people just need to be helped to maintain public order. Why? Because some people think it is a good thing when you see tires burning, houses burning, and so on. Yes, we still have issues, and someone said that we're not ready for democracy. Well, the best alternative is still democracy. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a situation if President Museveni says, I'm going to be president for the next 30 years, and you cannot choose who else can have a say on that, that country is going to burn up soon or later. But if you say President Museveni wants to be president, let him come and tell us what he has been doing in 5 years that warrants another Chisanja. Then you have a country that seeks to understand. And that explains, which people seem to ignore, the constant changes in percentage performance for every election cycle in terms of the presidency and in terms of who goes and comes out of positions of political office. If you check very clearly, the attrition rate in parliament is going up. That people who we feel have been too important, people are saying, no, here on community, we have realized that you are going there for your business. You are not representing our views as our representative. So you come and stay with us here as we give another person who may listen to us. If they try and that person fails, they'll say, no, I think let's go back to the person that we had sent away. That's happened in many places. And that's the relevance of elections, that the people themselves begin to audit the importance of offices and the service that they get from those offices when they give them the mandate.
Right. This conversation definitely has to come to a close. Let me just read one final comment. Good morning, UBC. I'm Isma, 33 years, from Arua, but currently here in Kampala. My humble request to the new government is at least to ban some of the social media platforms. Because most of the young generation is running mad. Oh, interesting. Isma, thank you so much for getting in touch. Now, some of the pointers that have been a takeaway from this conversation, in line with focusing shifts to peace and unity. in the lens of young people. Focus mindsets, knowledge of government programs is key for young people. And you cannot transform a society without understanding, without the understanding of the mass ideology for that particular community, but also taking advantage of opportunities that are right before you in your space of operation and existence. But also young Ugandans need to own the processes of this country as Uganda is trying to get back into line with peace, normal functioning away from the elections. What are you doing as a young person? Are you inciting violence? Are you part of everyone who's pushing narratives that cause tension in the hearts of many? Or are you choosing to encourage one another in one way or the other for the line and direction of peace? Those are some of the takeaways I've had from this conversation. Jacob, your parting shots.
I want to, again, thank young people in Uganda. We are the majority, but we can be a majority that behaves like a minority. I think we should be a majority that leads on the things that we aspire for. There is no young Ugandan who wants to wake up and cannot go to university,
right,
or cannot plow their trade. I think all of us want a society where, whether you are a muyirivi, like we say in Kampala, you are a young person that's making ends meet on a daily basis, you need people to be able to gather in the markets or in town to actually plow that trade. And I want to call upon young people. Let us all maintain the peace. The peace does not benefit the NRM alone, it benefits the community. And one of the reasons why many people have begun to lose elections is because of the rhetoric that diverts the community on what is foundational. Whatever your aspirations, whether it's better democracy or it's better development, if you want roads in your community, the foundational aspect is that that community is peaceful so that we can now discuss socio-economic issues. If we differ on the mode of governance, then that is a question for elections. But if we differ on the presence of what is foundational, then we cannot develop our community.
Right.
I thank you.
Very profound at that. That is Jacob Eyero. He is the former national chairperson of the National Youth Council and also an active NRM youth mobilizer. He's been having this conversation with us, focusing our shift to peace and unity post-elections, general elections 2026, which are still going on, by the way. 4th February is when they end, so this Thursday, make sure that you still go and exercise your right as a citizen and resident of that area where you stay. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Ginshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Plant extract, scientific ratio. Take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning, eat twice a day. Don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Ginshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you stay in shape. Please follow medical advice when taking this product. For more information, visit our website www.hgo.com or call 0800 335555.
When you want to relax your body and refresh your mind, welcome to Hotel La Confidential, Aroa's premier destination for luxury and comfort. The only hotel in Aroa City offering a serene atmosphere, breathtaking scenery. Come and discover our exclusive wellness club with packages that include a fully equipped gym, a rejuvenating sauna, steam bath, and a great sky blue swimming pool. For events, our state-of-art conference halls and versatile event spaces are perfect for hosting shows, wedding receptions, birthdays, and more. Come and enjoy our cinema hall and unisex saloon, all designed to meet your entertainment and grooming needs. Bring your family and let your kids splash around in our beautiful kids water park. We are located on Aroa Pakwachi Highway in the heart of Aroa City. Don't wait. Visit us on www.hotelconfidential.com or call us on 0761 688 181.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Ginshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules, plant extract, scientific ratio, take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning, eat twice a day. Don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Ginshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you stay in shape. Please follow medical advice when taking this product. For more information, visit our website www.hgo.com or call 0800 335555. Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Ginshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules, plant extract, scientific ratio, take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning, eat twice a day. Don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Ginshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you stay in shape. Please follow medical advice when taking this product. For more information, visit our website www.hgo.com or call 0800 335555.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala.
We have to change the political culture in this country, really. Who has bewitched Ugandans?
I want to assure you, as government, we shall do whatever it takes to ensure that Ugandans are safe.
We have conversations that have analysis, explanation.
This law society, this union of theirs, because they want a job everywhere, they want to be this, they want to be that, they want... No. We know it's a union.
You cannot be making a road, bitumen grade 1, in Congo for 5 billion.
But not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth.
The argument that the General Court Martial is responsible for peace and stability is without basis, either in law or in fact.
We have been told how Napoleon was a great orator. Now, Napoleon cannot help me get food. They told me combine harvesters in Saskatchewan. I don't know where Saskatchewan is. This is a geography we're taught. Instead of teaching me how to preserve Mabera forest, they're teaching me about Rhineland. This is a problem we got. We cannot run away from it.
Right now, you hear very disgusting stories of members of parliament. Instead of discussing the details of loans, they ask for their cuts.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Our program of poverty eradication is a must. We want everybody to be involved.
Through the parish development model, Ugandans are starting small but impactful projects to improve their livelihoods.
When we give 1 million, we know it's not enough to do many things, but it's a starting point.
I'm a PDM beneficiary, a farmer. Your Excellency, I was given 1 million Uganda shillings from Kobil Kawo PDM Circle. Your Excellency, I got 20 bunches from my small piece of land sold, got 400,000, put in the PDM farm, Your Excellency, in the PDM money, Your Excellency, I bought a cow of 1,400,000.
In 1 year, 100 families in the parish get. In 5 years, 500 families would have got.
We were the first people to receive money from Nakaprepret. I received $1 million. I rented 4 acres of land and I was able to harvest 14 bags.
So really this 1 million is enabling somebody to start something. Yes, and we don't want to give too much money to one person because we have got very many people to cover.
The parish development model empowers the people, focusing on lifting up the masses and creating opportunities that ensure prosperity for all. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance.
The Senior Citizens Grant under the Social Assistance Grants for Empowerment SAGE program is Uganda's social protection flagship program, providing regular, predictable, and reliable direct income support to older persons. Since inception in 2010, the SAGE program has positively impacted beneficiaries' livelihoods, contributing to the overall national socio-economic transformation. The government of Uganda has continued to fulfill its commitment to the expansion and sustainability of the SAGE program, ensuring income security, dignity, and improved basic standard of living for older persons in all local governments across the country.
akasente kasooka nkafuna nagula munkuuki enkoko eddabadukulu bange eruufu eyokabiri tuyafuna eruufu eyokubiri n'ata munkuuki akabuzi nga ngulya ki kyegulya ngulya baddukulu bange ndikola gavumenti enambi mu buke buno empeku iki akasente nga ningula munkuuki ekyokulya ekyabaddukulu bange tikyati ebintu ebyenfuna okuyambibwa mba nsaba gavumenti obusente bwetugwa butono bungi nga nkusaba ebe etugemereku etwongezeku tikati nze n'ebizibu nga ebyobulwaire omuntu amaiso gakibulira omugongo guliuki guluma era ebigero birima bume era n'essaawa eyo nfuna nkozesa ki eddagala ery'ekirugavu mpakirikola nga nsaba gavumenti ebe nga etongerewo kasente ndikusiima gavumenti ebintu buyalambala n'alowooza ati benja okutwala kambafune kuyo ki nga tikoze ki titumusabye kyaba kirowoozo kye kyamukulu waife atutwala
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all. The Senior Citizens Grant under the Social Assistance Grants for Empowerment, SAGE program, is Uganda's social protection flagship program, providing regular, predictable, and reliable direct income support to older persons. Since inception in 2010, the SAGE program has positively impacted beneficiaries' livelihoods, contributing to the overall national socio-economic transformation. The government of Uganda has continued to fulfill its commitment to the expansion and sustainability of the SAGE program, ensuring income security, dignity, and improved basic standard of living for older persons in all local governments across the country.
Siriya Kyazike nina emyaka 86 omuluka Kabakedde ombola Yeruwero disitulikiti Yeruwero kubanga engeri gye byantegeeza nze awo nagaanira ne ngamba sina nagenda mu ebyo n'abaana nga sinnabagamba bwe yagira ki abaana ne mbagamba ne bagamba mama genda nebanzikiriza sente ze nakafuna ndowooza gira emitwalo nga 6 oba zisobamu awo sikyajjukira bulungi kubanga nze kazitanzifuna naye nkola ebalirya nemmanya nti zituuse bwe ziti nenziteeka awo ku kayumba kange ako nengamba oluvannyuma ndifunamu ate ekigenda mu maaso naye nga sizizizza ku mwaba kuzoonoona nzizimbyemu akayumba ennyumba yange sente ezo ejja kunyamba mu bukadde bwange ofuna omupangisa ngaoyo ngaomuteekamu ng'ofuna ebintu byongebyo ng'oterekamu abaana bazze bakuŋŋaanye. Era nsaba buyambi bunyingire kano nkaggale nakali nkaggale n'okulongoosa bwe buba buwedde awo kale ng'ate empulaaninga ebirala wali. Neebaza nnyo 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 era nsiima ne ssekusiima kubanga ssinza kukisuula wadde nange nnyongerako naye ziri ze zisinga okumpagira.
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all. The Senior Citizens Grant under the Social Assistance Grants for Empowerment, SAGE program, is Uganda's social protection flagship program, providing regular, predictable, and reliable direct income support to older persons. Since inception in 2010, the SAGE program has positively impacted beneficiaries' livelihoods, contributing to the overall national socio-economic transformation. The government of Uganda has continued to fulfill its commitment to the expansion and sustainability of the SAGE program, ensuring income security, dignity, and improved basic standard of living for older persons in all local governments across the country.
Amabara gange Irene Masika bagenda eya bagenda nile mwira wange akasente kenye kanyiyambiremu kakubaire nikanyiyambamu baitu ako kubanza mbao nagule mbuzi bagitwara nagule enkoko nazo baziba hati akubambaire reno ninsuburamu akasura tinje yina mani gokulema ngonza nyikalo mukatale mbono tuhimba ngotu tunsanga hangeto enda hangeto niha akasukali kokunyi niko nuko nukanyiyamba kati amani gokulema tinje yina ngamusima senga utabisubulero ni musima nyo ni musima abereho abieho ni musima mono.
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all. The Senior Citizens Grant under the Social Assistance Grants for Empowerment, SAGE program, is Uganda's social protection flagship program, providing regular, predictable, and reliable direct income support to older persons. Since inception in 2010, the SAGE program has positively impacted beneficiaries' livelihoods, contributing to the overall national socio-economic transformation. The government of Uganda has continued to fulfill its commitment to the expansion and sustainability of the SAGE program, ensuring income security, dignity, and improved basic standard of living for older persons in all local governments across the country.
Amabara gange Nyosepiriano Kyalgonza umusomesa w'ekereziya ndi Kyegegwa Town Council Kyegegwa District kanta katunge sente za bakayikuru hego nkabande hano baitu ndi musomesa nakuri natunga yoga akasente katoito ito tusaina abakora hanyuma nanyowe nagenda nayihandikisa hanyuma akasente batandika kukatwereza batandike kutwa sentezi nanyo kinacwiremu nkabanza kwiteka musirwa Rosemary natandika kwitemesa kisaka na bya Rosemary yegi ate ubuna yungire nkaba nindu mu butunda nabwo nakoraki natandika kubulima kabanza kubulima haishaho bwarugaho nengera na hati nabugara ishyaka buri bwagena bukunguka hanyuma ikirugiremu hatobwire buno natandika kutunga empunu kanye kinawana zyankonyera mpuno natangiye kuyitunga nintunda nyihamwe akasente akukonyera eka yange mukazi wa hamwe n'abana bange. Ekinimba ninsaba kunyongera bukuba nyina abana nyina omukazi kandi obu n'abajukuru bange boona nabo baroho boona nibetagisa rubaju rwange. Ninsiima president kubanza ayatutekerizeho ito nk'abantu bakuru kandi twahaga omusoro twagurugaho twagaruka omu maka gaitu baitu nimusiima muno gavumenti eno enyakuroho eyebali kututeekaniza n'okuteekerezaho.
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all. The Senior Citizens Grant under the Social Assistance Grants for Empowerment SAGE program is Uganda's social protection flagship program, providing regular, predictable, and reliable direct income support to older persons. Since inception in 2010, the SAGE program has positively impacted beneficiaries' livelihoods, contributing to the overall national socio-economic transformation. The government of Uganda has continued to fulfill its commitment to the expansion and sustainability of the SAGE program, ensuring income security, dignity, and improved basic standard of living for older persons in all local governments across the country.
Amabara gange Nyosepiriano Kyalgonza umusomesa w'ekereziya ndi Kyegegwa Town Council Kyegegwa District kanta katunge sente za bakaikuru hego nkabande hano baitundi musomesa nakuri natunga yoga kasente katoito tusayina abakora hanyuma nanyowe nagenda nayihandikisa hanyuma akasente batandika kukatuhereza batandika kutwa sente ezi nanyo kinacwiremu nkabanza kwiteka musirwa rosemary natandika kwitemesa kisaka na bya rosemary yegi ate ubuna yongire nkaba nindu mu butunda nabwo nakoraki natandika kubulima kabanza kubulima haishaho warugaho nengera na hati nabugara ishyaka buri bwagena bukunguka hanyuma ikirugiremu hatobwire bunu natandika kutunga empunu hanyi kinabana zyankonyera empunu natangiye kuyitunga nintunda nyihamwe akasente akukonyera eka yange mukazi wa hamwe n'abana bange. Ekinimba ninsaba kunyongera bukuba nyina abana nyina omukazi kandi obu n'abajukuru bange boona nabo baroho boona nibetagisa rubaju rwange. Ninsiima president kubanza ayatutekerizeho ito nk'abantu bakuru kandi twahaga omusoro twagurugaho twagaruka omu maka gaitu baitu nimusiima muno gavumenti eno enyakuroho eyebali kututeekaniza n'okuteekerezaho.
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all.
UBC, inspiring Uganda. US, NATO, and the EU are in a free fall, fractured and broke. Russia, stronger than ever, winning. It's not one thing. It's not one thing. It's a series of things that for Europe signals checkmate.
Another story we are following today. The Bulgarian president has announced he is stepping down this Tuesday, fueling speculation that he will now form his own political party. Rumen Radev had taken a pro-peace stance on the Ukraine conflict and condemned Parliament's choice to approve the euro as the country's new currency without giving citizens a say.
The final rupture between Bulgarians and the political class
seems to have been written by somebody from the outside. My bet is on Brussels, actually, or American consultants, either way. And it cannot institutionalize. Respond to citizens' concerns. So their economy took a massive hit when they joined the EU because they had to suddenly apply all of the rules and regulations that they were not ready for. In fact, most of those regulations are strangling the economies of Western Europe to begin with. They're finally giving up the last instrument of monetary policy, which is their own currency. And so that's going to be particularly painful. It's definitely going to hit the elderly, the impoverished, the villagers the most. The urban liberals might not take it that badly, but their savings might get devalued overnight. And I think they got dragged into the Eurozone by their political establishment, contrary to the wishes of the populace, just because they wanted to score a point in Brussels and perhaps pad the way to some sinecures and some sort of future European bureaucracy without any regard for their own country, which is what a lot of people from European Union countries tend to do when they get into politics.
Now, some 2,500 families from Western countries have moved to Russia since 2024. That's according to Moscow's Internal Affairs Ministry, and is part of a program Vladimir Putin signed into law allowing people who share traditional Russian values to become citizens.
And don't tell your parents. This is not important for your parents to know. So this is just a horrible, horrible situation. And so we said, look, if we're going to sell everything we own and leave all of our friends and our family, etc., we should pick the strongest country that's for traditional values, that can defend itself, that has a direction, that has a future. So I came in February of 2023. I came for 7 days. I thought it would take probably 7 days. I could probably figure out whether or not this was the right place. And come to find out, really only 24 hours was needed. I was really immediately entranced by Russia and immediately fell in love with Russian people and the traditional values that are culturally still present, that you haven't lost, like we have in the United States.
Turning away from the life they had built, they began packing and moved to Russia in search of a future that aligned with their values. Moving to Moscow wasn't a lifestyle experiment, it was a reckoning. Joseph says the traditional foundations of American life haven't just been abandoned, they've been mocked.
traditional values haven't only just been lost, they've become an object of mockery. That's old-fashioned, that's, you know, not a feminist thing, it's not pro-woman, it's not, modern mentality, enlightened thinking. It's like, wow, we've been doing this for thousands and thousands of years as humanity, and all of a sudden it's just not cool anymore, and we should just bend to this more modern ideology that doesn't really give any good reason why it should be that way. Nothing benefiting from it other than just living for yourself. Selfishness. And this is unfortunately the problem that we have in the United States. Russians, you know, there's a very different vibe, right, than in the United States.
Joseph also says the US education system is broken, no longer teaching basic humanity or traditional values. He believes the COVID era pushed out conservative teachers and replaced them with a more radical system that exposes children to harmful agendas. The shift wasn't only visible to parents, even the kids began to sense something was wrong.
In America, they said it was bad to have children because there are too many to take care of.
Once my father and mother took a priest to a restaurant, and after their meal, the waitress came with a very sullen face, and she asked them to go outside, to move outside. And Mommy said that was because she didn't want to have the priest at her home.
So for this family, Russia isn't a refuge, it's a return, a place where the bonds of family still hold, and where tomorrow feels hopeful again. Anastasia Volodina, RT from Moscow.
You can just imagine a lively New Year's was had there. What a cute bunch. OK, RT's flagship show, The Sanchez Effect, takes over the reins next. Rick and former US Congress Chief of Staff Art Estepinian discuss Europe's jaw-dropping turnaround of deciding dialogue with Moscow is now preferable to a proxy war. The lively discussion gets going right now.
Hey, I see you're washing the Moscow mules. And we're gonna brainwash the crap out of you.
Getting word from Red Square.
Who are you? I don't care what my voters say. I am not a warmonger. I am a peacemaker.
Eating the dogs, eating the cats.
Huggy, there you go. All squeaky clean.
These are the stories that you need to know about today. A shocking turn of events in Europe. Germany is reaching out to Russia, wanting to bring it back into the European community of nations. France, Italy, maybe Finland are all saying kind of the same thing. Following suit, they too want to make peace with Putin, who also has responded. And Canada is also switching sides. Apparently fed up with the latest tariff wars with Washington, it's reaching out to China in a big way. Wow, all this on the Sanchez Effect. Let's do it. Hello again, everybody. I'm Rick Sanchez, and welcome to The Effect, where we begin with Europe flipping on Russia. That's right. They're saying it's time that Russia, as, quote, the largest country in Europe, is welcomed back into the European community of nations. Now, if you're thinking, what? So was I when I first saw this. But let me tell you who's saying this. Let me tell you who's saying he wants Russia to be back into the European community of nations. It's German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. And let me tell you something about this guy. This is the same guy who not long ago was pushing Ukraine to shoot long-range missiles into Russia. And even more recently, same guy who was proposing to rebuild Germany's army so that it can prepare for war with Russia. Now, he's saying this.
If we can then still manage to ensure that peace and freedom return to Europe, then we finally find a balance once again with our largest European neighbor, namely Russia. Russia is a European country. If we manage in the longer term to reestablish a balance with Russia, when peace prevails, when freedom is guaranteed, if we succeed in all of this, ladies and gentlemen, then this European Union and we in Germany will have passed another crucial test, and then we can look forward with great confidence beyond 2026.
It's amazing. I mean, yeah, that's what he said. You heard him right. Germany's chancellor wants to team up with, quote, our largest European neighbor. And what's interesting is that Germany has for years been complicit with the European Union and NATO in isolating Russia. No contact, no communications, no negotiations. So what's with this sudden change, right? I'm going to get to that. But first, let me tell you who else is on board with this. France. That's right, France. France is signaling it's time to reunite with President Putin. President Emmanuel Macron has been signaling for weeks now, last week, the week before, that it's time to re-engage with Russia. Here he is when this kind of began, his first signals in late December, when he was asked about whether he would meet with Putin.
I think it will be useful to talk to Vladimir Putin again. Yes, in any case, I see that there are people who talk to Vladimir Putin.
Who else is on board? Italy. The prime minister there, Giorgia Meloni, says begrudgingly, kind of holding her nose, yes, it's time to go talk to Putin.
On cooperation, I think that Macron is right on this. I believe the time has come for Europe to also speak with Russia.
But, you know, maybe the strongest and most well-thought-out argument for re-engaging with Russia, because all of these guys are saying, yeah, we want to do it, but you know, deep down, they kind of don't want to. They're kind of prejudiced about Russia. So the one guy who seems earnest about this is somebody who comes from the other side of the Gulf of Finland. Here's a headline. Let me show it to you. There it is. That's and they're talking about Finland's former president, Sauli Niinisto, who served from 2012 to 2024, and he's saying essentially that Europe needs Russia. According to him, Europe must engage President Putin because Europe's global influence is diminishing. He argues that Europe must reach out to Russia to avoid being divided by external powers, namely the United States and China. There you go. Look, when you think about it, his argument makes sense, right? But it's not new. This is an argument that President Putin himself has been arguing for going back to 2001. That's when he, Putin, asked, I think it was President Bush under his term, he argued that Russia should be allowed to join NATO. He said, bring me in. I want to be a part of your team. And now Putin is responding as well, by the way, to this latest invitation. Here's what he's saying.
Russia was and remains committed to precisely these approaches and is ready to restore the level of relations we require. Our relations have deep historical roots, full of examples of mutually beneficial partnership and mutually enriching cultural cooperation.
So why then is this change occurring now, right? Why is this happening? Why the sudden olive branch, right? Why suddenly are European leaders reaching out to President Putin, to Russia, right? I mean, I know there's still things to be worked out, but still, their tone seems totally different, right? Well, the answer is contained in a series of recent events that would give most people whiplash the way they've happened. What it's given Europe, though, is a heavy dose of reality. I want to take you through it. Here we go. First and foremost, and this is the underpinning of everything, Russia is winning the war. And deep down, Europe knows that. They just don't want to admit it. Slowly but consistently, Russia is decimating the Ukrainian army. Number two, Trump, not Europe, recognized that early, and he chose to pick sides by negotiating directly with Putin, right? Think about it. And where does that leave Europe? Out in the cold. They're not in the boardroom. They're left to watch these negotiations, these talks, while two world superpower leaders are discussing it, and Europe is on the sidelines. Ouch. Number three, Europe becomes angry about that. so it escalates the anti-Russia rhetoric. It announces plans to steal Russia's frozen assets, more than $230 billion. They plan to gift that money, Russia's money, to Ukraine. It's crazy. Putin fires back with some chilling statements like this one.
Theft is an inappropriate description. Theft is a covert seizing of property, but in our case, they are trying to do it openly. That's called robbery. And so why can't this robbery be carried out? Well, because the consequences could be dire for the robbers themselves.
So what happens next? That gets us to number 4. Russia is then hit, like during the holidays, with 2 drone attacks. One that it says was aimed at the residence of President Putin, and another that leaves 500,000, 500,000 Russians in the dark during the holidays, without water, without electricity. This time, Putin gets real angry. He doesn't talk, he signals. Russia shows Europe. It doesn't tell Europe. It shows Europe what it's capable of doing to them.
Russian military sources also confirmed they'd launched what they called a massive strike with a powerful hypersonic missile called Oryeshnik against critical facilities.
The pictures that are emerging of the damage caused are quite extraordinary. Russia overnight has fired more than 200 drones and dozens of missiles, including an intermediate range supersonic ballistic missile designed to cause maximum damage, and it has.
Yeah, they shut down the Ukrainian energy grid, and then finally, the U.S. sends its own signals. Wow. This is it, like this. It kidnaps the president of Venezuela. Amazing, huh? And then it says, oh, and now we're going to take over Greenland. Oh, and now we're going to take over Greenland. A European territory that is part of Europe, right? Part of NATO, part of the European Union. So what are we seeing? The squeeze is on. Squeeze is on. Think about it. Europe is being abandoned and threatened by the U.S. NATO and the EU are in a free fall, fractured and broke. Russia, stronger than ever, winning. It's not one thing. It's not one thing. It's a series of things that for Europe signals checkmate. And that is why they're reaching out to Russia. I feel like I'm in a commercial, but wait, there's more. There's another country that's now looking east. Guess who? Surprise, surprise. A prominent member of NATO is also looking eastward and accepting the new world order where countries like Russia, India, and China are no longer to be treated like inferior countries because they're not. This is Canada's Prime Minister, Mark Carney, in China over the weekend. He's laying down the gauntlet. He's signaling to the rest of his peers in NATO that it's time to go to the other side. It's time to accept the global south. It's time to accept the BRICS countries, if you will. That's what he's really saying. Carney's stepping out of Washington's shadow, doing so in a way that will leave a mark, a big mark. Here he is meeting and dealing with the Chinese President Xi.
The sound and stable development of China-Canada relations serves the common interests of our 2 countries and contributes to global peace, stability, and development.
I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, this is all happening before our very eyes. It's a shift, right? Paradigm shift. This meeting with between China and Canada was obviously ceremonial, but also extremely substantive. Because following the ceremony, both leaders sat down, had long conversations with their teams, of course, and then they made statements that were aimed right at Washington and right at Europe, but specifically at Trump's tariff war on both China and Canada. Prime Minister Carney even went as far as doing what many were calling unthinkable, maybe even ballsy. He's going to allow China to export its electric vehicles, China, electric vehicles, not just regular vehicles, into Canada.
Canada has agreed to allow up to 49,000 Chinese electric vehicles into the Canadian market, with the most favored nation tariff rate of 6.1%. This is a return to the levels that existed prior to recent trade frictions.
Most favored nation status. Take that. Wow. I mean, this big. This statement is a direct message to the United States, which has, by the way, kind of a long-standing unofficial prohibition, or maybe even call it a ban, if you will, although that's not the official term, on not just EVs, right? Not just electric vehicles, but all Chinese vehicles, Russian vehicles to boot. Wow. To discuss these incredible, titanic global shifts that are taking place, I'm joined now by Arthur Estopinian. He's international and public affairs chief with 27 years experience in the United States Congress, former chief of staff and official spokesperson for the chairman emeritus of the House of Foreign Affairs Committee. Wow, Arturo, I don't know where to begin other than to say,
hey, Rick.
Hello, my friend. Good to see you again.
Likewise, great to see you. Thank you so much.
What do you make of this? I mean, I just took our viewers through a litany of all the changes that are taking place in our world. And, you know, I think there's a movie out there, cool young guys like you probably know the title better than I do, Fast and Furious. It seems like everything is happening fast and furious.
Absolutely, Rick. And, you know, this is called leadership. You know, your question and your presentation was very impressive, because that is the reality, that things are moving very fast. The European Union accepting Russia into the European Union and all, it's going to be extraordinary. But I think that leadership is not, it doesn't happen by mistake. It doesn't happen by an error. It happens because of President Trump's leadership. Take us back just almost a year ago, under President Biden's leadership, and we saw war, we saw devastation, we saw economic collapse, and now everything has changed. And Russia is definitely a significant country in that new world order, in the geopolitical reformation of the world that President Trump and his team, with Secretary Rubio, have unleashed.
When it comes to the Ukraine situation, you're giving Trump props for understanding what was reality, right? And not only did he recognize it, but he acted on it. He said, this is ridiculous that we have this small country, Ukraine, who's fighting a superpower, who really could wipe them out if they really wanted to, but hasn't wanted to. But even that's kind of a lie, because it's not really a war between Ukraine and Russia. It's a war between the West, Biden's Washington, and all of Europe and Russia. So what Trump was doing essentially was looking at this, holding a mirror up to it and saying, this is the reality. And it seemed like the Europeans didn't want to buy that at first, but he's kind of forced them into a quandary. It's interesting. Well, I'll let you comment on that, and then I'm going to go with the follow-up, but go ahead.
No, I mean, what he has said it, Rick, you know, publicly, I want the war to stop. Yeah. I want the Russian soldiers to stop dying. I want the Ukrainian soldiers to stop dying. And he's a businessman, remember. He's not a traditional politician that just blah, 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 blah. He's a man of action. Let's meet with Putin. Let's try to get a deal, stop the war. And this is the steps that, you know, that his administration has been working towards.
This is what puts, you know, in my conversation with my viewers, and now at the beginning of my conversation with you, we're talking about this pickle that Europe finds itself in. I mean, you're an investor. I'm sure you've got a couple of dollars on Wall Street. So do I. I know very well what a short squeeze is. And this is a short squeeze for Europe. I mean, their benefactor is telling them, we can't afford to support you anymore. And the company, or in this case, the country that they bet against, is doing better than ever. What the hell are they going to do?
Yeah. Yeah, not only that, but President Trump is an entrepreneur. He wants to build. He understands the contribution that Russia can contribute towards this new world order, and he's going, he's pursuing that.
The problem with President Trump, though, is although I agree with you, I think his instincts are good. And I think the things he has said and the things he generally tries to do and has done in the case of Ukraine, as we both agree, by dealing with the reality of the situation and not what we want it to be, has been effective. The problem is there are people over President Trump, people, as you well know, who are part of the military establishment, people who make money on wars, people who are very tied to the nation of Israel, who get in his ear and sometimes in his pocketbook, and as a result, the decisions don't come out the right way, oftentimes. What do you say about that?
Well, perhaps initially, and maybe that happened in the first administration, but now we've seen the type of restraint that he's using lately in Iran, and he warned the mullahs and the Ayatollah, stop the killing of the civilians, or the United States will respond militarily. And then he heard from the Gulf country leaders, and he stepped back. So I think his first instinct, in my opinion, is not military option, which the United States, as we saw in Iran and we saw in Venezuela, is a tremendous power. So that's not his main first instinct. His first instinct is let's talk. Like he talked with Mr. Putin in Alaska, and he's talked to Kim Jong-un in North Korea, and he's going to China in April. So his first instinct is to talk. Let's talk. And yes, he has advisors, before, like Ambassador Bolton in the previous administration. Less so in this administration, I believe. He understands what politics is all about, and he steps back and says, well, let me talk to that leader, and let me see how we could compromise. Let's see what we could do. So you're right. I mean, he has advisors that want to bomb. We have senators that want to bomb everything. But he says, okay, let's step back and let's talk first. But
the problem is Iran, for example, is a canard. The whole world has recognized the fact that this so-called mistreatment of protesters in Iran, while there may have been some of that, much of it was created by the Mossad. Much of it was, the Mossad has admitted to it. I mean, Israel has come out and said, yeah, our agents are there. They're on the side of the protesters, and they're instigating much of the killing that is taking place. I mean, so.
But with the young people, we have to recognize that the young people in Iran, the women, they want to take the burqa off. They want to take, they want to live in 2020.
So do people in the United States. So do people in the United States. We got people all over the country rioting and holding protests and fighting with ICE because they want to go around and pick up the guy who, helps me in my house and helps my wife take care of the kids.
Many of the gardeners here are hiding because they're afraid.
I know.
And domestic women that take care of, they clean homes, they take care of our children.
They're good people.
Yeah, that's good, hardworking people, and that's an issue that is very serious. But President Biden opened the border, and we had millions and millions of illegals. Some of them are terrorists, and some of them are criminals.
But so did Trump.
And we cannot accept that.
So did Trump, and so did Obama, and so did Biden, and so did Reagan. And so did Bush. They all did. These people didn't come all under Biden. That's a canard. They came over every single president in that country.
25 million came under Biden. Open borders does not work, and President Trump closed the borders. So the Iranian people, in my opinion, the young people, they're tired of this nonsense. They want to live in a free and democratic society, and they're rebelling against the government there.
And you're right. And I think there's a reason for that as well, though. Oftentimes, I'd like to think that these things just happen naturally, but they don't. You know very well, Aturing, that that we intervene and we interfere. The West has been doing this for years. Part of this conversation that you and I are having is fascinating because part of the conversation that people don't get in the United States is, yeah, we've got a lot of immigrants in the United States, people like you, people like me. Now, I am so proud to be an American and so thankful for everything that the United States has allowed me to be able to gain from an educational standpoint. But I know damn well that the only reason my parents came to this country was because the United States, in many ways, messed with the institutions of other countries. Hondurans don't want to be in America. Hondurans want to be in Honduras. Guatemalans don't want to be in America. They want to be in Guatemala. You could go to any of these countries and see where we intervened and did things that created a ruinous condition for the people, making them want to leave those countries and then come to America. And now we're mad that they're here, you know, helping us with our children.
Well, the fact of the matter is that especially the Central American immigrants that I'm more familiar with are hardworking people. You know, I have some projects, construction projects and remodeling. They come in at 7 a.m. and leave at 5, 6, or 7 sometimes. So we need those kind of workers, but we need to know who they are. We cannot have an open border policy. I'm sure Russia doesn't have an open border policy.
Of course not. No country does.
We need to know who they are. And the issue right now is a humane way.
Yes.
And the answer is immigration reform by the U.S. Congress. That is what is needed. That leadership is missing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's almost like the toothpaste is already out, right? So you're trying to, I see these ICE agents who I'm sure they're just trying to do their jobs, but someone's telling them, go find all the toothpaste capsules and try and stick the toothpaste back in. Man, you can't do that. And not in the U.S. based on the Constitution. You can't go up to a person and says, prove to me you're legal. Prove to me you're not a criminal. You can't do that.
And the American people in recent pollings do support legal immigration. So perhaps a middle ground of temporary working permits is the way to go. You know, let's get them up, and if they learn English, they study American history, you know, show us that you want to be part of the United States, then maybe extend that working permit to residency and so on and so forth. But there has to be an expulsion of all of the Islamic extremists, terrorists that are here in this country, and the violent criminals. That has to stop.
I'm wondering, given your adherence to the Trump policies, some of which I agree with and some of which I don't, I wonder what you think of what Trump has done with Europe. He basically is the first president in my lifetime to essentially signal to Europe, you're just not that important anymore. You're kind of small in the scheme of things, and I'm going to turn my direction elsewhere. By the way, if you guys want our support, pay for it. Otherwise, go to hell. That seems to be what he's telling them, and they're now kind of receiving that message. Have I characterized it correctly?
Well, Rick, you know, I don't want my European friends to be angry at me. But the fact of the matter is that we live, like you said, in the new world order. We live in a fast-paced, you know, internet, AI environment. Europe needs to get, you know, history and tradition is fine and dandy, but Europe needs to catch up. If not, we see Asia. So when you go to Europe and when you go to Asia, it's totally different dynamics. You know, for example, in China, you have high-speed internet, you have fast trains, you have everything is digitalized, the monies. I mean, and when you go to Europe, they're still living back in the 1980s or 90s. That has to change. And that is what Trump is telling them, guys. He's telling them to their face, Europe, you know, get with the times. You have to, you know, you have to modernize. You have to become more competitive in today's global world. And I think that that's what he's telling them, and he's told them in no uncertain terms. And I think that he's working hard on that. And I think that that's going to help the overall world peace and economy. That's how I see it. That's how he sees it. He sees it through the lens of a businessman, not as a politician.
You know, and you also just do a comparison. We could just do a comparison in our head, right? The European Union is fractured. right? There's countries in the European Union who says, we don't even want to be a part of this anymore. You've got countries like Turkey who are attending BRICS summits and other meetings of other countries around the world, kind of showing like, you know, we maybe want to flip over to the other side. We haven't yet done it, but we're certainly putting our toes in the water, so to speak. So that's happening. But even more importantly, when you look at Europe, Arthur, what have they got? I mean, Russia is the country with the most oil, the most hydrocarbons, probably the most resources in the world, the most land in the world. China is the country with the most people in the world, with the strongest, arguably one of the strongest economies in the world, if not very soon the strongest economy in the world. India has an extremely vibrant social services. I mean, I could go down the list and talk about these attributes from these countries, and then you compare them to these countries in Europe. They have no oil, they have no resources. They're basically just places where banking takes place. I mean, even if they wanted to, what the hell can they do to get out of their own way?
Well, Europe is, in my opinion, Europe is a rich historical area of beautiful churches and museums and
castles.
And they have what's that?
And castles.
Yeah, castles, lots of castles. I mean, so the reality is that they have all of those richness, right? Historical richness, but the young people need more than that, Rick, in order for them to be competitive in today's world. And unless they do that, they're going to continue to fall further and further behind.
All right, let's talk about Latin America. I don't think what the United States is doing in Venezuela is, in the end, going to be good at all for the world. I think the message that is being sent, that might makes right, is not a healthy message. And obviously, no matter how you look at it, even if, I don't think he is, by the way, but if Maduro were the biggest drug dealer in the history of the world, one country does not have a right to go into another country and act as it's that country's police force. You just can't. You got to find another way to do it, if you will. So my argument is it's wrong. Now, the message it seems to be sending, at least to Europe and other countries, might be effective in the short run. How do you see it?
Well, Rick, the fact of the matter is that dictator Maduro was not elected by the people, by the Venezuelan people.
None of our business. None of our business. What are we? Who the hell are we to go around the world deciding what president was? You can argue we haven't had a president in the United States elected democratically in 40 years when you consider how the donors really choose the two people we get to vote for. Do you really think Hillary Clinton was the choice of the American people for the Democratic Party? It wasn't. It was Bernie Sanders.
Maria Corina Machado, who's part of the opposition leader, proved to the world via the ballots, the physical ballots, that they had 80% of the vote, popular vote.
I'll give you that, but that doesn't give a country the right. Okay, so let's argue the United States. Trump recently.
I'll argue totally the opposite.
Trump, hold on. Let me make my argument. Trump recently argued that his election was stolen from him. Did that give Russia or China the right to go into the United States and remove Joe Biden and put in Donald Trump? Why not?
Look, Rick, the fact of the matter is that the United States, as the leader in the Western Hemisphere, as Latin America, he cannot allow for a president, dictator, who loses an election to say, I'm not leaving, guys. I have the military and I have the money and I have the power, and I'm not saying no. That's not going to be tenable. President Biden, because he was so weak, and the Democrats allowed that to happen, but President Trump is not, and his main architect, Secretary Rubio, whom you know very well, is coordinating the cleanup of Latin America, in my opinion, from Hezbollah, from Hamas, all of the Islamic terrorists that are affiliated with the African jihadists. That all is going to be changing, and the Venezuelan people are so happy because they're going to go back to Venezuela. and rebuild that country that is a very rich country.
We may disagree on that because I think in many ways the problems with Venezuela were in many ways caused by our actions in Venezuela. But I want to get back to my point where you and I both, you know, I respect the hell out of you. I think you're a really smart guy, and you and I have talked many times in the past. I'm wondering at what point do we have to say it's not cool for one country to go in and remove the president of another country, no matter what the conditions are? There has to be a better way to do that, or every country will start doing this all over the world. And then we're going to have problems when it comes knocking on our door. That's my point.
As you know, Rick, Mr. Maduro, as the head of the Cartel de los Soles, it was designated by the United States as a foreign terrorist organization. So this was not a military exercise. It was an extraction from an indictment of a United States court, federal court in southern New York that indicted him because of the evidence that they had that he was sending drugs, illegal narcotics, to the United States.
Yeah.
The United States has a big problem, as you know, Ray. 100,000 young people or so die every year because of fentanyl and other drugs in the United States. That cannot continue.
So let me.
President Trump has the leadership
I checked
to be
on
able
that.
to stop that, and he has stopped that.
So I checked on that, what you just said, because of course I saw that same report. So immediately I went to Mr. Google's and Mr. ChatGPT and AI, and I looked up every piece of research I could. 98% of the fentanyl that comes to the United States comes from Mexico, not Venezuela. Yep. 98% comes from Mexico. And much of it is helped by gun manufacturers who furnish the weapons for those cartels in Mexico. So why are we not attacking Mexico? Maybe we should remove the president of Mexico tomorrow then, if that's the real reason why we're doing this. You see what I mean?
President Sheinbaum. No, but listen, that's a good point. So President Sheinbaum is cooperating with the United States. She's not dancing like Mr. Maduro was dancing and telling President Trump, "You're not man enough to come and get me. Come and get me." I mean, he provoked him. But that's not why President Trump did it. I mean, President Sheinbaum of Mexico has turned in, extradited to the United States, 56 convicted narco traffickers from Mexico, and now they're being tried here in the United States with evidence that the United States has. So this is all based on a very deliberate and structured cleanup, as I mentioned before, of the Western Hemisphere. And under President Trump's leadership, that is going to change. And the Venezuelan people are going to be able to go back and rebuild their country. They have gas, they have petroleum, they have uranium, and it's one of the richest countries in the world. And unfortunately, under Mr. Maduro's and Chavez's leadership, it was a total failure.
I think you just gave up the ghost, though, my friend. If you and I were to argue, well, if you and I enjoying this conversation, I feel like we're at a bar in Miami having a couple of beers and sharing ideas. Cuba Libres, right. If the real argument is what was the true intention for the United States doing this, let me give you something which is also a fact, which makes this very interesting, if nothing else, coincidental, if not paradoxical. And that is this. Of the 3 countries in the world with the richest deposits or reserves of oil, one is Venezuela and the other is Iran. And those are the 2 countries that the United States is either threatening with takeover or interfering or whatever you want to say. Doesn't that kind of give up the ghost? I mean, doesn't that reveal the real reason why this is happening?
But Trump is not shy about that. He has said, I will use Venezuela's, he says, I will use Venezuela's oil to have a geopolitical negotiations with Mr. Putin in Russia and with China. So I mean, he's not afraid of saying that. And we will use the benefits of the benefits of the sales of the oil to help the Venezuelan people. And we will sell, the United States will sell that oil in international markets. So, I mean, this is a whole new geopolitical.
Yes, it is, but it's not their oil. It's not their oil. I mean, this is crazy. That oil, which really belongs to us, which we're now going to go back and take, but somehow it ended up under your country. Who knows why? We're going to go back now and we're going to do deals and sell it all over the world so our people, our business people can make money. That just sounds crazy to me.
No, because we will turn half of it to the Venezuelan people so that they could have medicine, food, and housing are the main priorities. As Secretary Rubio has said, the stability is the first phase, then it's reconstruction, and then a transition to democracy. So the fact of the matter is that we're not taking that, the United States is not taking those funds for ourselves. They're compensated American companies that were confiscated by Chavez when he was the president, democratically elected, mind you, first. So, I mean, it's a whole transitional period, but that's what President Trump is doing. We saw it in Panama when Secretary Rubio was confirmed. He sent Secretary Rubio to talk to the president. Eventually, the canal is back in the United States' hands. And that focus of the Western Hemisphere, Rick, is going to continue, in my opinion, during President Trump's administration.
Well, I'll tell you what, and maybe this is where you and I come to a kind of a meeting point on this, because obviously we look at these things a little differently. I tend to be a little more of an internationalist from the standpoint of war and peace, and I worry about something like any country just going in and saying might makes right in a situation like this. But you're right. To a certain extent, Trump is not doing anything that hasn't been done before. You could go back to 1953 and look at Arbanes in Guatemala. You could go back to 54 and Mossadegh in Iran. You can look at all these places where the West and the United States, CIA eventually, whatever, MI6, have gone in and said, no, but we're doing it for democracy. We're doing it for the people. You're right. Trump just says, no. We're not going to talk about democracy and this and some little girl who was hurt or this or that. No, he just comes out and says it. They've got a lot of oil. We know what to do with it. We're going to take it. And to a certain extent, same as Greenland. Greenland is perfect for the United States. It has rare earth minerals that equate to some of the most important rare earth minerals in the world, especially when it comes to defense, technology. So we're interested in Greenland. His brazenness.
It's in the U.S. national security's interest for us to be able to administer Greenland.
Does that? I mean, it's no different from anything that past presidents and past administrations did. He's just calling it what it is, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly. And you know, my question, Rick, is, knowing the United States military power, why didn't Mr. Maduro pack his bags and become neighbors with Al-Assad or now maybe Mr. Diaz-Canel from Cuba or the Ortegas from Nicaragua? I mean, that is what's coming. And that is part of the cleanup of Latin America, in my opinion, under this administration.
Be careful. Be careful what you wish for. I mean, my fear is...
They have new neighbors in Moscow.
No. I mean, my fear is for my country as an American. I mean, you and I, you're old enough. I mean, you and I lived through Vietnam. Iraq is a disaster. We went in there with... I heard people saying the same things to you on CNN conversations when I was on Fox and CNN. People told me the same thing. Oh, no, this is going to be great. It's going to work. We're going to get the oil. We're going to do this. Iraq was a disaster. Afghanistan was a disaster. Syria and Libya, arguable, but in many ways, they've been a disaster. We go into these places with all these high ideals, and sometimes we end up stepping on our own feet.
It's different. Do you see military, U.S. military in Venezuela at this time? No. It's not. You're absolutely right. The disaster that the United States led in Iraq and Afghanistan under the model of democracy was 100% failure. That is not the new dynamics. That is not the new paradigm that the United States is pursuing under President Trump. So it's going to be interesting. If it's successful, I think it's going to be the new approach for the United States to try to help in establishing of a democratic process in these countries in our Western Hemisphere.
Well, I'll tell you what, it sure is great to have this conversation with you. I'm glad you look great. Family's good?
Yes, they are. Thank you. Congratulations. I remember seeing you when I was a young kid, and here I am in South Florida, and here I am seeing you all the way in Moscow, in Russia. So, I'm so happy for you, and it's a testament to your great reporting, investigation. So, congratulations, and I'm sure that you're going to continue to grow. But yeah, I understand that you're doing very well. So. Congratulations to you.
Well, and you know what's interesting? I'm glad you said that, because in many ways, this conversation that you and I just had, which to me, I hope you felt the same way, respectful, free, no rules. I wasn't reading questions to you. I was reacting to what you were saying. You were reacting to what I was saying. I don't see this on Fox and CNN and MSNBC and those places in America. It feels, and I know I work there, it feels constricted. We need more of these conversations with guys
100%.
like you and I sharing opinions, agreeing, disagreeing, or whatever. That's
and Rick, the funny thing is, I get criticized from my colleagues for coming here, and I tell them, look, as long as I am engaged in a free-flowing conversation, I will speak wherever I could speak, wherever I'm invited. But you're absolutely 100% right. I think these kind of conversations on TV, in forums, the time has come for engagement, and I think this venue is very useful.
Thank you. I'll tell it to my colleagues around here. It's great. We try. We really do. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I find myself with fewer handcuffs, more free, more in control of my own narration here than I did working at many of the stations in the United States. And to me, it's huge. Nobody's telling me what to write or say.
Invite me to Moscow. We'll have it in person.
You got it. It's a beautiful country and great people. All right, Arthur, take care, my friend. God bless you, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, sir. Likewise. All the best.
Well, as you might imagine, when we do conversations like this, and that was really an interesting conversation. Obviously, we didn't agree on a lot of things, but it's important to share our ideas, right? We got tens of thousands of comments and more than 300,000 views at last count when I did my interview last week with Mohammad Marandi at the height of the Iran conversation. He had a different opinion than Arthur's. Here's a sampling. Bill says, Professor Mohammad Marandi, please continue enlightening people. Please continue opening their eyes and their minds. And Rick, thank you very much for hosting Professor Marandi. Thank you, Bill. Then Arya Mamanam says, did I get that right? Arya Manam says, to me, Rick Sanchez, you are fake news. Well, thank you. I appreciate that as well. Elegant Brain says, Iran is not our enemy. Respect for Professor Marandi. Marandi, thank you, Rick Sanchez. And then, oh dear, 2023 goes after Marandi, probably going after me too, saying, Marandi, did you get a one-way ticket to Russia already? Okay, as usual, all the feedback is appreciated. It really is. It doesn't matter when you want to be critical or disagree or agree. We're cool with that. On YouTube, you can check me out at Journalistically Speaking. Don't hesitate to speak your mind. Also, look for me on X. I go by Rick Sanchez TV or Rick Sanchez TV. Hey, you know what? Thanks so much for letting us into your homes. Certainly appreciate it. And we'll be looking for you again mañana, tomorrow.
Thanks, Rick, and good to have your company for the news hour. Lots to fit in, so let's get straight to it. And the cross-continental divide deepens. Amid lashing out at Emmanuel Macron, US President Donald Trump has also leaked private texts from his French counterpart. Mr. Trump posted the message on his Truth Social page. Now, Macron stated that American and French views on Syria apparently align and claims that two countries can do, quote, great things on Iran as well. The French leader, however, questioned Trump's stance on Greenland while asking him to meet in Paris for a discussion. Donald Trump dismissed Macron's influence, saying he'll soon be out of office anyway.
Do you have any response to President Macron saying he will not join the Board of Peace?
Oh, did he say that? Well, nobody wants him because he's going to be out of office very soon. So, that's all right. What I'll do is if they feel like Costo, I'll put a 200% tariff on his wines and champagnes, and he'll join. But he doesn't have to join. If he said that, you're probably giving it to me a little bit differently. But if he actually did say that, but as you know, he's going to be out of office in a few months.
Well, we're joined live now by RT contributor Martin J. Martin, America and France, never the easiest of bedfellows, but it seems to be reaching whole new levels now. He wants to meet Mr. Trump in Paris for a discussion, essentially to change his mind on Greenland. Even if that happens, what cards do you think Macron can give him to edge Trump towards that, if at all?
I think you said it, if at all. I think there's very, very little wiggle room on the EU side, and that's the problem. That's the inevitable consequence, of course, of being so weak in the first place. And the Europeans have proved time and time again that every time you think they're at a certain level of civility, they're even lower and weaker than we could have possibly imagined. And that's really the situation now we've got with Trump in office. He believes the Europeans can be thrown around in a wrestling ring, as a junior partner. The interesting thing I think about the message is that the Europeans are certainly panicking about not only Greenland, as you mentioned, but I think also Iran. I think this is a real worry, and they probably
just
think...
on Iran, I'll just say to the audience, Macron alluded to the great things that the US and France could do on Iran. Martin, with that kind of language, what do you think was meant?
Business. I think Trump has always had his eye on huge, huge opportunities in Iran. There's very little secrecy about that. But I think Macron also sees great opportunities for French car manufacturers, as one example. So great things really means liberating the markets as well as liberating what they perceive to be the democratic deficit. So I think that's one of the points about Iran. But I also think that the Europeans are probably worrying that Trump is very, very close to making a major strike there, and that he doesn't really understand the implications. He doesn't really understand the impact of what that strike will be in the region now that the Iranians are so much better prepared now than they were on June the 12th last year.
Mr. Trump is also, it seems, taking it personally that Macron has snubbed his invitation to the so-called Board of Peace for Gaza, saying that it doesn't really matter. He's going to be out of the Elysee Palace very shortly anyway. Diplomatic niceties, Martin, they're out the window at this stage, it appears.
Yeah, and also you have to ask yourself, does Trump know something that maybe the French don't? Macron's still got a bit left on his second term. He can't run for a third time. But to say he's going to be out quite soon, in a few months, may suggest that the CIA are practicing a bit of regime change themselves, even within France. Maybe Trump is just absolutely exhausted with Macron and has his own ideas about a right-wing populist leader, and has a few ideas about how to meddle with the political process to actually accelerate that. You have to ask yourself, what is the real story here?
The UK also getting scolded over the giving up of the Chagos Islands, the Labour government in the UK overseeing that after the Conservatives, they push for it towards the end of their term as well. So it's not just, of course, who's in Downing Street right now. But in any case, it seems to be a theme of general weakness by the Europeans, which seems to offend Donald Trump most of all.
Offends him, but I think it also goads him to become even more out of control and more feral and frankly crazy. and this is what really is worrying a lot of European leaders, is that we all knew that Donald Trump was very unpredictable and did things on a last-minute whim, mainly to support his own insecurities and foibles. But the question I think some European leaders are asking themselves is the guy losing his mind? And I think when Venezuela happened, I think many people suggested that this is a guy now who's basically out of control, and something needs to be done about that. And so I think perhaps Germany, France, and Britain have got together and said, look, we need to do something, and Macron has stepped forward, deluded as ever. I mean, what a deluded guy. He always assumes that he is the informal, unelected president of the European Commission. Much to the annoyance of Ursula von der Leyen in Brussels, of course. He always plays this role of President European Commission or President European Council, the one who should speak on behalf of Europe and take these initiatives. But the fact that Trump's leaked the text message shows an extraordinary level of contempt, not only for the French and for Macron, but I think for EU leaders in general. So my point is, it's a really dangerous thing to have a weak leadership and very, very poor levels of governance in the European Union when you have someone like Trump in office in America.
Is that weakness in Europe also manifesting itself in the fact that all of a sudden you've got the leaders of the top economies in the European Union saying, oh, we better speak to Russia because we don't know essentially who our friends are going to be going forward after this. But that lack of long-term thinking, Martin, it's extraordinary, isn't it, that this is what it takes to get Europe's largest nation, Russia, on board to try and say diplomacy, after all, is what works. You can hear me, Martin?
You just cut for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, no, I was just talking about this roundabout, this change of European tactics, this to speak to Europe, and a lack of long-term thinking they may never have to do that, but all of a sudden, that's their aim.
Well, they see, yes, but they always have seen Trump as the source of the problem, but also the source of the solution. And I think this latest message shows that there is some buckling now. There is some compromise. The truth is out. The journalists have basically written up in the last couple of weeks, as much as you want to bang the drum on talking about troops to Ukraine, basically defense spending is down to its last few shekels. Europe has no more money now for Ukraine. And we get ourselves into this situation where we are just repeating ourselves and going round in circles, where you have Europe, Russia, and America with each of their own peace papers, which have completely different messages and completely different.
Okay, we just lost Martin there towards the end, but we got a good sense of what RT contributor Martin Jay was telling us then, that overall sense of European weakness, really something that offends the US president, and it's being manifesting itself in those barbed comments by Trump to both the French leader and also to the UK about giving over the Chagos Island, saying that will be a threat because of Chinese influence. Okay, let's keep that theme going. Another story to tell you about now. 100%. The US president's response when asked whether he'll deliver on a threat to hit 8 NATO countries, very close European allies, or at least they were, with tariffs if they stand in his way on acquiring Greenland from Denmark. As European powers scramble to form a united front against the relentless cross-Atlantic push, Donald Trump says they're just going to have to accept his terms. To protect Greenland from possible invasion, Europe mustered up a few dozen troops from various countries. A number of German soldiers even returned home shortly afterwards, with Berlin claiming it was merely, quote, an exploration mission. RT spoke with island locals themselves, who were a little surprised to learn that Russia and China pose a threat to them.
We're hearing from the European Union that the real threat here isn't America, it's Russia, it's China. What do you think about that? Do you think that's the real threat?
Nej, det gør jeg ikke.
Why not?
Fordi der er ikke noget
We are far away. We live here in a different way. I don't see any threat to us.
I Grønland, det har jeg. Yeah.
Do you think Greenland then needs to be protected from Russia, from China?
No, I don't think about it. I don't know. To tell you the truth, I don't even want to get into it. No.
Some people are suggesting the real threat is not Trump, it's Russia and China. Do you think they're the real threat?
Not really.
Why not?
I'm just living from day to day, but I'm listening to the news.
Do you think Greenland needs to be protected from Russia?
It's being protected from NATO, not Russia and USA.
Trump has said the real threat is from Russia and China. Are they the real threat?
Maybe. I don't know.
Are you afraid that Russia or China would really want to take Greenland?
Oh, all of them. Yeah. I don't know. It feels so new for me.
Well, RT's Charlotte Dubinsky is on the ground in Nuuk and can take us through the latest on the developing Trump-EU feud surrounding the world's largest island.
Trump's plan, demands to incorporate Greenland into the US are serious. While he is steely-minded, the Europeans have been left, scratching at their heads. How will they combat their so-called ally? They've tried talking, that didn't work. Now they've mooted using an economic nuclear weapon that could backfire massively. They've even been suggesting desperately that Trump isn't the problem. No, the guy demanding Greenland with a gun to Europe's head isn't the issue. They say the real threat is coming from elsewhere. Where? Yeah, you guessed it, the world's apparent bad guys, Russia and China.
Italy, meanwhile, deciding it wants in on the action too.
It's going to launch what it calls the Italian business mission to the Arctic. Yes, there's so much business to do in the Arctic. This strategy reflecting the Polar North's growing geopolitical and economic importance. Giorgia Meloni saying the region must be increasingly a priority for not just the EU but also NATO, hence the sending of troops to Nuuk.
I believe that in this case, the desire of some European countries to send troops to contribute to greater security should be read, not in the sense of, say, an initiative made against the United States, but if anything, against other actors. We must try to organize together to develop deterrence tools against interference that may be hostile in a territory that is clearly strategic. And I think the fact that NATO has begun to work on this is a good initiative.
That joint deployment of troops from a series of NATO countries, not the US, mind you, to Nuuk was part of a pre-planned operation, a show of force, you may be wondering. Hardly. Between them, these